inimical, that contract will not inure to the benefit of the country. That contract will not benefit the ordinary Ghanaian, and that contract does not meet value for money. We are therefore calling on the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led government to put a halt to this lease agreement, engage further with stakeholders, and ensure that we find a long-lasting solution to the problems confronting TOR. These firefighting approaches will not help the refinery. The refinery alone has seen about 5 different managements under the Akufo-Addo-led administration. It does appear that they are playing with the refinery. It does appear that there is no seriousness being shown when it comes to the management and revitalization of the refinery. And so we call on government to immediately halt this lease agreement and ensure that we go through a transparent process. We go through a process that gives everybody a fair playing field, equal opportunity, so that eventually we can identify a strategic partner that will not only ensure that the refinery is put to good use, but that the refinery serves the overall interest of the nation. On this note, the minority wish to serve notice that if President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia do not heed to our call, we shall use every legitimate and constitutional processes available to us, including parliamentary processes, to ensure that we compel this government to listen to the good people of Ghana. Enough of the mess in the energy sector.
We have the reports over here, the report of the Auditor General on statement of foreign. The last one is on the consolidated statement of foreign exchange receipts and payments of Bank of Ghana. We are looking at for the year ended December 31st, 2022. Now, Mr. Governor, if you could go through that report with us. And then when you finish with the report, then we'll come up with some questions for you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is a statutory requirement under the Constitution of Ghana that the central bank shall present to Parliament every year a statement on the foreign exchange receipts and payments for the year. So this is what was done for 2022. And as you would recollect, 2022 was a very difficult year for Ghana. You would see that in terms of total inflows, foreign exchange inflows, total inflows were much lower in 2022 relative to the prior year. To start with, just to go through the table very quickly, if you take cocoa receipts, for example, at the end of 2022, total receipts was 1.87 billion. Capital receipts was 5.2 billion. Invisible receipts was 3.6 billion, bringing the total inflows into the country at 10.7 billion. When you look at on the outflow side, in terms of our foreign exchange sales of 4.4 billion, other imports of 122.8 billion, you had capital payments of 8.2 billion, and then invisible payments of 1.14 billion, meaning that our total outflows exceeded our total imports. Total outflows amounted to 13.9 billion for the 2022. Now, if you look at the details again in terms of page 5, for example, you see this is in a graphical form the outflows versus inflows in 2022. It's very clear there that the outflows were much higher than the inflows. And then in 2021, the pattern was different. We had a higher level of inflow than the level of outflows. I think all of this shows the bottom line of the net flows for 2022. You would see that the foreign exchange reserves of the Bank of Ghana as at the end of 31st December 2022 was reported at 6.3 billion compared to 9.6 billion recorded in the prior year, showing that we lost about 3.31 billion of foreign exchange reserves in 2022. Essentially, Mr. Chairman, this is a summary of the report. We are here to answer any detailed questions you may have.
Okay, colleagues, any questions? Okay, Honorable Roxon.
Yes, Chairman, thank you very much. Governor, what accounted for our increased outflows in 2022 vis-a-vis the outflows in 2021? Any clear indicators?
I think, Mr. Chairman, the problem was rather on the inflow side. If you remember what happened in 2022, the country lost access to...
Yes, I see, because it's graphically presented, I see that. Yes. But I'm more concerned regarding what went out. That's why I want that explanation. So,
when you look at the graphs for the outflows, they're about the same. I'm trying to look at the table that compares the outflows. But the graph, just looking at the brown graph on page 5, you see that the differences between the outflows in 2022 and 2021 are not very different. But I'm trying to look at the actual, okay. So if you look at 2021.
On page 5?
Yes, on page 8. If you look at page 8, you would see that total foreign exchange payments, foreign exchange sales, energy and non-energy was 4.4 billion in 2022. We paid an even higher amount the year before, 4.7. Other imports didn't change too much, but capital payments was as much as 8.2 billion compared to 6.7. And then if you look at the invisible payments, the differences there were not too significant. So to answer your question directly, these are the capital payments that went out in 2022. And let's see what the details of capital payments are in terms of the definitions used in this report. Do you have it? Yes, so these are the capital payments in 2022. These are interest payments on borrowing, interest payments on swap facilities, interest payments on a bridging facility that we had with the Bank for International
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's go to table 9. Table 9, I think capital payments. Page 19. Governor, I hope you are there. Page 19, table 9. That is the last but one, a figure of 248. 117,485.23 margin calls. If you can, because it's a new figure in the table, if you compare with the last, you can explain the margin calls to us, we'll be very happy.
Yesterday, all the primary macro indicators that were doing bad, they are coming back. Current assets was negative, now it's positive. This is what we are talking about. The only thing they want to say about the State of the Nation's address is false, it's a lie, it's not true. But it is factual, without any ambiguity, that yesterday all the things that were going bad, now they are showing improvement. Things are going on well now.
A few minutes later.
John Jinapo, Honorable John Jinapo.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, first of all, let me put on record that this House is a House of record. And when people claim that they have researched, it's important that they come with accurate, unimpeachable information. Mr. Speaker, I refer to the annual public debt reports for 2019 financial year. And Mr. Speaker, specifically, I refer to page 19 of 77, table 2, recent microeconomic performance 2015 to 2019, gross public debt as a percentage of GDP. 2016, Mr. Speaker, is right here, 56.8%. Mr. Speaker, let it go to the hazard that Honorable Dr. Stephen Amo's 77% is untrue, is concocted, is fabricated, and the facts in this document right before Parliament does not support his assertion that the NDC had a debt to GDP of 77%. This is public record, and I'll plead with him, please read these documents. This is right here in Parliament. And Mr. Speaker, I've even forwarded these documents to you by WhatsApp. In the era of technological advancement, I can do that. So I'm pleading with Dr. Stephen Amwa, please get your facts right before you mislead this whole House. This is serious business. We just don't go and take concocted figures and peddle falsehood here. That is not done. Mr. Speaker, he talks about President Akufo-Addo appointing Honorable Martin Amidu and saying that that's an achievement. This is Martin Amidu's verdict on President Akufo-Addo. Modern Ghana, 29th of November 2023. Big brother Akufo-Addo lied his way to the presidency only to supervise the most corrupt government since 1993. Martin Amidu, unquote. This is a testimony of your government. Yes. The man you claim President Akufo-Addo found him so worthy that he appointed him as special prosecutor. This is his verdict on President Akufo-Addo. But let's do some small academic exercise, Mr. Speaker. First of all, it's not even current assets. Doctor,
look at what is happening in Ghana today, and you will have no conclusion but the fact that this NDC government is the most incompetent, uncaring, and corrupt government this country has ever seen. Why do I say so? Last night, I received the news, as all of you have received, that upon all the troubles we are going through and trying to survive this phenomenon that they have inflicted upon us for the last 3 years, they have decided to increase the price of fuel by 9%. How uncaring can you be? This is the government that said, I care for you. Where is the care? Don't you have any empathy for the suffering of our people? You have to increase in this period where people are trying to buy diesel, to run generators, businesses and individuals. This is your thank you to them, to increase further the price of petrol and diesel and other fuels. And this is why we are saying this is the most uncaring government.
But if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. The type of free fall that we are seeing with the cedi exchange rate is a vote of no confidence by market players in the management of the economy. Indeed, many market players presently are pricing goods with the expectation that the exchange rate is going to be 2 to 1. It is almost there. The scary part of this is that we are only just past the first quarter of the year, and we have 3 more quarters to go, and the situation could therefore get worse. This development is not fair to the private sector, and it is certainly not fair to Ghanaians. The slide you are seeing here.
Our president, John. What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief? Number one, the ordinary thief steals your money, your bag, your watch, and your jewelry, isn't it? But the political thief steals your future, your career, your education, your health, and your business. Number two, the hilarious part is that the ordinary thief will choose whom to rob, but you are the one who choose the political thief to rob you, because we choose them, we vote them, we blindly say we are not blind. Who is deceiving who? The ridiculous part of the whole issue is that we will fight to defend and protect our belongings from the ordinary thief, is it not? But we fight each other to defend and protect the political thief. Is that not what we do? Thugs will be fighting themselves to protect those that are stealing our career, stealing our job, stealing our health, stealing our success. What a shame.
This country is in serious trouble, ladies and gentlemen. We are in serious trouble. We need to rescue this country, ladies and gentlemen. The presidency has been so depraved, so muddied, so dirtied, that I tell you in all sincerity as a Ghanaian, that I feel terribly sad today as a Ghanaian. We need to rescue this country. Wallahi, inshallah.
Please don't cry.
We shall rescue our country. If you reach a certain stage in life and there is nobody who can look you in the eye and tell you the truth, you are doomed. And that is where our country has gotten to. We need to rescue this country, wallahi. And I feel very terrible as a Ghanaian at this time.
Government is broke, government is broke. The people are spending billions to go inside the government that is broke. Have you ever seen a minister who resigned because government is broke before? Government has no money. Have you ever seen a governor who said, ladies and gentlemen, when I was elected, I thought the government had money. Now I discover government has no money, I resign. Have you ever seen it? Government has no money, but they are bringing money out at election time. Where is that money coming from? So they are lying. What is happening is that there are 2 types of wicked people in government. Type 1, they eat current money. Any money they find in government, they will eat it. They are wicked about that one. There is type 2. Type 2, they eat current money and future money. They will say, my term will end next year. When I leave, how will I eat money? Let me borrow money now and borrow money of the future and eat it now.
Right, hello, good morning and welcome to the show. This is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. It's a Friday, the 19th day of July 2024. By His grace, we're alive and we're here. We're at another edition of the show. Our gratitude to the Most High God for the rare privilege of being alive, and of course the opportunity of having another conversation around the top stories making the rounds here in our dear Republic. I'll let you into our panel for the morning's conversation shortly, but let's take a look at the front pages of our newspapers. Daily Graphic. Agenda 111 to create 60,000 jobs, President Akufo-Addo. 5 regional airports not commercially viable, Auditor General. Ambulance case, Jakpa was dishonorably released, Military Secretary. Constituency Watch, Adenta, will electorate keep to tradition? The Ghanaian Times. Efforts to maintain order and safety, clear traders off pavement. Minister orders MMDAs in Accra. Control of cement price in Ghana, the bare facts. President appoints COPO as Deputy IGP in charge of operations. AU SNIT Media Coordination Meeting opens in Accra. Daily Guide. Ghana Publishing expands to Kumasi, MD drives innovation. 2.37 million euros ambulance case. Jakwa was not honorably released. Army. NDC Women Organizers chase chairman over. Okay, you can read that comment. Equiapim Benkum Division endorses NPP. Cement price fixing won't address increment. New weekend crusading guide. 2.37 million euros ambulance trial. Military Secretary sinks Jakpa deep. Comet Construction Company set to hand over Odona and Malam Market projects. Ghana Publishing opens first regional office in Ashanti. Price controls on cement in Ghana. Michael Note-Okwe not acting Manche, Osustu. Ghana's democracy scores high in new Afrobarometer report. NPA boss charges LPG marketing companies to embrace CRM. The insight. Bawumia, why he cannot fix Ghana's decimated economy. Salvaging Ghana's fortunes, RTD leads third force against NPP and DC duopoly. The attempted assassination of Donald Trump and its political fallout. Comet Construction Company assures a readiness to hand over Odona Malam Market projects at stipulated time. Adenta Chief Imam marks World Youth Skills Day. The Herald. Akufo-Addo ties down Paris hands with illegal in quotes Deputy IGP. Days after Atachien's committee report confusion. Ambulance case trial judge sets judgment day. Despite long list of witnesses and protests. NPP unaware of country's economic hardship, Mahama. Tetracore Energy launches Ghana's first natural gas mother station in 2024. Government considering absorbing YEA community pleas into security services. ECG's new board chair promises modernization. The Informer. Greater Accra NDC balls over chairman's insults. Looting of state lands. Minister MP embroiled in accusation. Ending NPP NDC duopoly, third force necessary RTD. Security of state paramount to government, Bawumia insists as he unveils police shop. Let's intensify efforts to combat learning crisis, Akufo-Addo tells African leaders. Ghana's democracy hailed as citizens reject military adventurism. The Daily Statesman. Ghana's democracy tops Africa, Afrobarometer. Badia intensifies efforts in funding Africa's development. Parliament approves timber contracts for FLEGT licenses. The Daily Searchlight. Current crop of MPs not serious. Use polls to punish those who absent themselves, says Ajay Daku as he calls for populists to ignore parties and target competence. NPA boss urges LPG marketing companies to embrace CRM. Badia announces $20 billion funding boost for Africa's development. Dengue fever, avoid mosquito bites, Dr. Gbene. At a forcing trial, Jakpa was released but not honorably. Witness. The Ghanaian Publisher. SDA, VVU, Honor Natoshi, congratulations. Ghana Publishing opens office in Kumasi. Afrobarometer report rates Ghana's democracy high. Will cement price fixing address increment? Utilize talents of YE, President Akufo-Addo. Daily Post. NDC in a strong position to win 2024 polls. Fitch Solutions. December polls. A vote for Bawumia is a third term for Akufo-Addo. Mahama. Akufo-Addo's honorary doctorate conferment by UHAS, unmeritorious and undeserving. Bawumia insults Mahama. University Don expresses shock. The New Finder. Embrace cylinder recirculation model. NPA boss appeals to LPG marketing companies. Strengthening the Arab Africa ties promises new funding for Africa. Parliament ratifies timber utilization contracts, paving way for FLEGT licenses. LI can't fix CD depreciation, which is causing cement price hikes. Ghana's democracy scores high in new Afrobarometer report. The Catholic Standard. Don't participate in strike actions. Bishop Efrifa Jekum to health workers in Christian institutions. Unwholesome food being served under school feeding program. Auditor General's report. MPs withdraw LI on sirens following public outcry. Archbishop Jagodzinski offers prayers for the people of God in Southern Africa. Nuncio's Ghana in my heart launched. Editorial, a stillborn LI that was a misplaced priority. And that's about it for the front pages. We'll be back shortly. Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. With me on the show this morning, I have the Honorable Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, who is also the Member of Parliament for the 2nd constituency, the Honorable Andrew Ejapa Mesa. And, his club has also qualified from the Division 2 to the National Division 1.
I need to speak to you about that.
League. It's Hazakes. You are show.
Yes.
Second D, 11 wise.
Yes.
Okay. But wise and Hazakes, are they both not second D?
Both are.
Okay.
But
you are wise.
Hazakes is primarily based in Takrady.
Oh, although they are second D, Hazakes. But wise is based in second D.
Wise is based in second D.
Okay.
Good morning. Good morning.
I saw you at the game. You were there.
Yes, I was there.
I saw you.
I was there. I needed to go and give my moral support to the players, and they did extremely well. They made second D go gaga that evening.
Yeah.
Because it's been long since we've been wallowing in the doldrums of Ghana football.
Interestingly,
we'll be able to make.
I had not taken notice, but interestingly, their performance even prior to the Middle League was stellar.
Yes. Yeah. They won practically every game. Yeah. Congratulations to the Western Show boys.
Okay.
Of second D.
But it's so sad, eh? Both Hazakes and second D went down from Premier to Division 1 to Division 2. And it's now that Wise has come up to Division 1. Okay. I hope that you provide them the necessary support.
We're doing our best. Thankfully, they have some management now that is doing amazing. So we are supporting them.
Is that the management which is led by Spiogabra?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You know he's my nephew, right?
Spiogabra?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I see.
Spio's mother is my father's younger sister.
Oh.
So Spiogabra is my direct cousin.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay. First cousin.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
Save that he belongs to my good friend Stock, whilst I belong to this side.
I see. Also with me on the show this morning is a son of man who I also spotted at the whole stadium. Also during the Middle League, the final, the Middle League. And I saw him there. I said, what is son of man doing? Then I remember that he once told us that he was a right winger. Although he never made it to the Presec Inter-House team. But he said he was a right winger. We'll take it like that. Everybody once played football. Anyway, so the son of man is the ranking member on the Government Assurances Committee. And he's also the member of parliament for the Northern constituency. Son of man, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Doc. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Hope you're doing well. Yeah, good morning, Japamesa. Good morning to all our viewers.
You know, the wise picture, there was one I saw, I laughed. You were on one side, then Dunkirk.
Yes.
Dunkirk, NDC.
Kirk Mason.
Yes. He was on.
Yeah, he was sitting very close to me.
Yeah. No, this one, both of you were standing.
Yes. But I've known him since infancy. We all mass service at St. Andrew's Anglican Church. So, politics aside,
St. Andrew's Anglican Church at second D.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I had my infant baptism at the St. Andrew's Anglican Church at Abosoka here in Accra. Yes.
Oh, so you're an Anglican?
My dad. So I was as an infant. I'm not Anglican.
You were baptized Anglican.
Yes, because my dad was Anglican.
Okay.
So now you are.
Action.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Purely charismatic.
As baptized Anglican, but I grew up faith evangelical.
Okay. Interesting.
Now.
So when you saw me in Ho, I went to support Inter Allies. You know, they adopted Bato as their new home.
Okay.
And my constituents gave them very, very full support, and they won that Middle League match. So they are now in first division. Yeah. So they are doing well. They're doing very well. So let me congratulate them.
It's one of the professionally run clubs in Ghana. Yeah. And they unfortunately were involved in that match fixing thing with Ashgold, which led to their demotion to Division 2.
Yeah.
And I think they have struggled on 2 occasions to come back. And then they have come back. Interestingly, it was a battle between 2 former Premier clubs.
Yes.
They and Wafa.
Yes, that's true. That's true. North Tongue and South Tongue. So I was there with Honorable William.
Wafa Sugar Copy.
Yes.
I see.
It was a very interesting Sunday afternoon. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then we should have played the match at. Okay, so who is neutral?
Yes. Yeah, neutral grounds.
Anyway,
it was really entertaining. It went all the way to penalties.
Yeah.
Two very good teams. Yeah. Very, very good.
I think this year our Regional Football Association chairman have done so well. It appears that the Division 2 Middle League across has been very exciting, properly organized, and I'd like to congratulate.
Western Region 1 had some drama 2 weeks prior, so it had to be postponed from Inasi, and the match moved from there.
Oh, I see.
Okay, why?
Yeah, I hear one of the teams was disqualified because they had killed an
unqualified player.
So that team was supposed to have gone to the final with Wise. So when they were disqualified, then these other team from Wasa
was okay. All right.
So
then I attended most of the Greater Accra games.
Okay.
You know, so the IFA chairman, well done, and I hope that this will spare you to even do much better in the upcoming season. But MTN says I should tell you that this month of July, is SME month. So if you own a small or medium-sized business, get ready for an exciting month ahead as MTN Ghana brings you a host of exciting events carefully planned for SMEs across the regions. Businesses will be given the opportunity to set up at the MTN head office at the SME pop-up event from the 4th to the 30th July. So it's already started, but we still have about 11 days to go. There will be quizzes on MTN social media pages with exciting prizes to be won. MTN will also have developmental and capacity training for SMEs across the regions. There will be promotions and major discounts on MTN's products to boost your pocket and your business. The month's activities will be capped by SME fairs. So the Accra one started yesterday, 18th of July, and it will end tomorrow, the 20th of July, and it's at the Tetekwashi Interchange Triangle. And then from the 26th of July to the 28th of July, it will move to the KJTR market. So don't miss out on an open invitation to gain access to top-notch solutions, exposure to partners, and an opportunity to put your business on the map. Be a part of MTN SME Month 2024, and you can contact MTN by calling or WhatsApping 0244-308-111 to know more. And the recommended family toothpaste, which is also approved by the Food and Drugs Authority, is KEL 360 toothpaste. KEL 360 toothpaste provides you and your family with all-round dental protection throughout the day with freshness. KEL 360 toothpaste is good for kids, children, and adults. Let your family be a proud family when they step out by constantly using KEL 360 toothpaste. KEL 360 toothpaste brightens your teeth, prevents cavity, and with its cool mint gives you fresh breath throughout the day and protects the gum from decaying. For consistency and quality, use KEL 360 toothpaste. KEL 360 toothpaste is another product from Samara Company Limited, producers of Sasso, and it's available in all supermarkets, malls, and provision shops. Call Samara Company on 0246-864-798. KEL 360 toothpaste, happy smile. And enjoying the fruits of your labor is as important as enjoying the mansions of your labor. The pains of climbing the stairs when not exercising could be challenging for all ages, but worry no more. Lifts and elevators have got you covered with the best portable American pneumatic vacuum elevators on the market today. It's a simple, self-supported elevator for both homes and offices, and guess what? It can lift your goods too. Wheelchairs can fit in, and they come in 3 custom-made models. It's affordable and can be installed within 3 days. Visit Lift and Elevators at Sakumono. Just call them on 0200-535-515 or send a mail to elevatorsgh@gmail.com for consultations and the best solutions in easy vertical movement. Okay. Now, Salama, you are the chairman of the Government Assurances Committee. How so?
Yes, so there has been reconstitution of committees because of the new standing orders, which the House has now fully approved and is implementing. It's been in the works for over a decade, I must say, and we need to commend the leadership of Parliament across the last 3-4 parliaments It has taken a great deal of work if you consider the fact that this has been going on since 2015, thereabout. It's been a lot of work. The standing orders we replaced was put together in 2010. It was revised in 2010, and immediately some shortcomings were identified, and there has been the view that if we totally overhaul the standing orders, we'll be able to have a more efficient, more dynamic, a more assertive parliament. And so you see that new committees have been introduced. You would also realize that the numbers have been considerably reduced. So that
when is it numbers? You mean
numbers of committee membership, yes. You take, for example, the Foreign Affairs Committee, which I was the ranking member. Now I'm member so that I can focus on the Assurances Committee. It used to be 20 members. It's now 13 for Foreign Affairs. The committee I'm chairing now, and let me clarify, and I see that there's a lot of that in the media. So under the old standing orders, it was called the Government Assurances Committee. Now is the Committee on Assurances. So the scope has been broadened. And if you look at Order 225 of our standing orders, the Committee on Assurances, it says the Committee on Assurances comprises a chairperson, a ranking member, and not more than 13 other members. Previously, this had 25, a membership of 25. The committee is chaired by a member who does not belong to the party or parties that form the government, another significant development. Previously, it was chaired by a ruling party.
It never made sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, we have raised that a number of times on this program. The last chairperson was the Honorable Patricia PJ, and clearly you will have challenges holding your own colleagues in the same party to account for their commitments, their pledges, and their assurances to the House. Then if you look at the mandate of the committee has also been expanded. It says that the committee shall pursue the execution of every assurance, promise, and undertaking made to Parliament by ministers, committee chairpersons, members, and other state functionaries. So now it is not only government officials. We are supposed to hold even our colleagues in the House. So committee chairpersons, members, and other state functionaries. Very significant. So all of those other state functionaries who used to hide under the old standing orders that ministers can't, non-ministers cannot really be questioned and held to account for their stewardship directly. This time, under the new standing orders, all of those other state functionaries, can be held directly.
And an assurance to Parliament is not just at the plenary.
No.
Even at committee level.
At committee level.
Okay.
It also includes documents you have submitted to Parliament, whether your work plan, your work program, your annual reports, any assurance, any agreement. So he says that the execution, of every assurance. And we are also to report to the House on the fulfillment of the assurances, promises, and undertakings by persons referred to in paragraph 3A. So we have to commend the folks who worked on the new standing orders. I'm really excited about the outlook. You're having now a split in some committees that clearly were just overly burdened. For example, the Finance Committee, just too burdened, and sometimes you see the stress on their faces. Now that has been really divided. So you have a budget committee to focus on budget. You have an economic committee to look at more of, economic development planning, So that really overload, the work overload that the finance committee was grappling with, that has been dealt with. And I also like the fact that depending on the configuration in parliament, you can have a party not in government chairing a number of committees.
So I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask that question, but I need this clarification. Then I'll move on to that question because a few days ago, Judah Gbemafiva sent me a list. I saw 16, and out of the 16, the new old standing orders had subsidiary legislation and public accounts.
Yes,
chaired by the minority.
Yes,
but now there are 14 others, and some of them are. You want to say ministerial committees.
Yes.
And so I was surprised and I was wondering why. But I'll let you, both of you, address that. However, Parliament has like 5 months to go. Now, with this new standing orders that have been adopted and the reconstitution of a committee, so for example, the government assurance, is your mandate going to take effect from when this Parliament came into office, or it has to do with assurances from the day that you were inaugurated?
No, it would take effect. All assurances really of this parliament.
Okay.
It's the life of this 8th parliament.
Okay.
Yeah. If not, there will be really a truncation of our work, and it will be so, impossible to work. Remember that these committees have referrals, so many referrals, and so if you say that cut off, you are virtually saying that all of those important business referred to the House, to the committees by ministers, by constitutional bodies, even including bills and all of that. We should just forget about all of
just
them.
Continue.
So we are just continuing.
Okay.
We're just going. And yesterday I had a good meeting with the clerk of this committee. She's already giving me what was in the pipeline, the business of the committee that we would have to finish up, and then we'll meet on Tuesday to draw up a program for the remaining weeks ahead.
But the importance of the work of this committee, because the last time you were here, and you were reported to have said in Parliament, you had referred to a number of outstanding issues, and were shocked. A lot of issues that have not been addressed. Are you thinking of having televised sessions of your committee, just like we see with the Public Accounts Committee?
Yes, we will seriously consider that. And every committee of Parliament can make that request. Every committee, because, committee hearings are really public, unless in very narrow circumstances where you probably want to go in camera. It's just that we haven't really explored that. But this is a committee that has enormous, and already we are receiving a lot of requests for updates. People are saying, look, there was a budget read, we had this promise about some project, some road. There was a question asked of a minister who said, I assure you that we will come start work in probably next quarter or next month. We want you to, follow up for us. So there's enormous interest, and I think that to really bring Parliament to the doorstep of the people, and our Speaker is really big on an open Parliament where there is total transparency. Already, we recently won the most open Parliament in Africa, and Speaker Bagbin went to receive that award on our behalf. So he's keen on, he's even set up a new office just for engagement with civil society organizations, citizens, and I know Obed is one of our staff who is working there, a very dynamic young man who wants to really make sure that Parliament is brought to the doorstep of the people. So it will be something that I'll push strongly. And
so how many committees in all now?
In all now, I haven't done the count, but we do have a considerable number. Yes, we still have standing and select.
Because I see these committees here. committees chaired by the minority, and you can confirm or deny that for me. 1, subsidiary legislation. 2, petitions. That's a new one.
Yes.
3, assurances. That's your committee.
Yes.
4, public accounts. That we know already. 5, economy and development.
Yes, that's a new one.
Yes.
It's one of the
6, human rights. 7, budget. 8, backbenchers. 9, works and housing. 10, environment, science and technology. 11, youth, sports and culture. 12, parliamentary affairs. 13, judiciary. 14, chieftaincy, culture and religious affairs. 15, sanitation and water resources. 16, public administration and state interest. Is it the case that henceforth the minority in parliament will chair these 16 committees?
It will depend on the ratio. So we always.
So is the hang parliament
that
has determined this 16?
Exactly.
Maybe apart from, but there are some that you have. There's this, when I was reading your draft before you approved it.
Yeah.
There were some significant things that I saw. One was that there were going to be some committees that will be chaired by the party that forms the government.
Yes.
Irrespective of whether they are minority or majority.
Exactly.
And then there are those that will be chaired by the minority.
Yes. By not minority per se.
By the party that doesn't form the government.
Doesn't form the government. Okay. Because this new standing orders envisages a situation where there could even be a coalition government.
Okay.
Where a number of parties will come together in parliament, that they are working with the ruling party. So it envisages that. That is why if you look at the careful wording of the Assurances Committee, for example, you will observe that it says that it should be chaired by somebody not in the ruling party. So in that case, it really doesn't matter whether, because you can form a majority in parliament, but you didn't win the presidential. So that has been considered, which was not really contemplated under the old standing orders. And I've done the count now. For select committees, we have 24 now, and then for the standing committees, we have 19. So we now have a considerable number of committees, really, if you look at it, 43 committees now. So the number
the 43, the minority is chairing 16.
Yes.
I'm not so sure whether it's as a result of the current nature of Parliament that has informed this committees being chaired by the minority. I think there was a general consensus amongst the drafters of the rules that it was important for some committees, because of the nature of the work that they do, to have an opposing party chairing. So these committees have been, the chairmanship of these committees have been reserved for the minority group in Parliament at all times, going forward. So yes, that's my understanding. These will be chaired by the minority.
I think that there was a reflection on that. If you look, I have the report of the select committee here, the selection committee. And interesting, the selection committee is chaired by the Right Honourable Speaker himself. I think it's probably, apart from the Parliamentary Service Board, is the only committee that the Speaker himself chairs. It's a very important committee. And they reflect on the chairpersons at page 2. They say that in composing the committees, the committee adhered to Standing Order 210 and determined the chairpersons of the committees based on the ratio of 138-137, representing the numerical strength of the majority and minority caucuses, save the committees whose chairpersons were already determined by the standing orders. So the ratio played a role. But you also have to bear in mind that there are some of the committees, for example, the Ways and Means Committee, which is one of the exciting new committees, where it is stated in the standing orders that ought to be chaired by a deputy majority leader. So in instances like that, the ratio would not apply. It is now going to be possible where, in a scenario where you have majority in Parliament coming from the opposition, in other words, not having formed a government, they can chair majority committees in Parliament because of, the Standing Order 210. So it's really an interesting development. Previously, you didn't have that. It was just, a given that once you are the ruling party, regardless of your numbers in Parliament, you chair all committees except public accounts then subsidiary legislation. So it's really forward looking. It's really forward looking if you look at it. Let me just quickly read Standing Order 210: selection of chairpersons and committees. The chairpersons of committees shall be appointed based on the numerical strength of the parties in Parliament. Despite Rule 1, the following committees shall be chaired by members of the party or parties that form a government. So, Finance Committee, Committee on Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Committee on Defense and Interior, Committee on Security and Intelligence, and this is also a new one, a new committee. We didn't have a Committee on Security and Intelligence. And this committee, they are all going to swear, the oath of secrecy, because they'll be receiving high-level security briefing. Then you have the Committee on Employment, Labor Relations and Pensions, the Committee on Constitution and Legal Affairs. So these are the committees for those in power. Then the chairpersons of the following committees shall be appointed from the membership of the party or parties in Parliament with the largest number of seats other than the party or parties which form the government. So Public Accounts Committee, the Committee on Subsidiary Legislation, the Committee on Assurances, and the Budget Committee. So for the purpose of this order, parties include independent caucus. So if you have, independent MPs who come together, they are also, taken care of. So it's really an interesting development. Except that we are in uncharted waters. This is the first time this is being done. Virtually coming to the end of the term. That is why there were a good number of MPs who thought that we should just wait and apply these standing orders in the ninth Parliament. Yeah, because there's also a constitutional provision that the selection committee must meet before, Parliament really starts working. And these things ought to be done at the beginning of the term. But the Speaker
I think that during the course of the term, this selection committee can still meet and recompose and all of that, especially after ministerial appointments.
Yes, typically. But you say that you are the masters of your own rules.
Yes, and interpretation lies in the bosom of the Speaker. No, not
about the law.
That's why you were outraged when they said cease and desist. Because you're used to being masters of your.
Yeah. Nobody controls us.
But let me come. I need a lot more. So now I understand, because I was going to ask about some of the committees where, like, if you say works and housing, obviously it is the government thing, and you would expect that the majority will chair it. But now you see, so I understand because of the numbers.
The numbers, the ratio. Yeah.
Now this economy. Is economy and something, economy and development, or
yes,
and then budget committee. What are they going to do?
Well, their functions are spelled out.
Okay.
In the orders, every committee and their functions are really defined in the rules. So, if you permit me, I can just quickly
pull it up.
So, the Finance Committee shall deal with matters related to monetary and fiscal policy, loans and financial transactions generally, and jurisdiction to investigate and inquire into activities and administration of the ministries, departments, and agencies under the mandate of the committee. And the investigation and the inquiry may extend to proposals for legislation. You go down to Public Accounts Committee, Economy and Development, shall have matters that. Yes, so Committee on Economy and Development is 230, right?
Yes.
Says that they will relate to the economy, matters relating to the economy and development planning generally, and have jurisdiction to investigate and inquire into activities and administration of ministries, departments, and agencies under the mandate of the committee. Shall have referred to any matters related to the national development planning, Commission, development authorities, mandate of the Bank of Ghana on economic development and efficient dissolution or utilization of resources. So 235.
Bank of Ghana.
Yes.
Okay. And that's a committee chaired by the minority. Economy and development, right?
Yes.
It's chaired by a minority.
Yes.
Oh,
well, not all the functions of Bank of Ghana. Some aspect of the work of Bank of Ghana. And of course, 235.
I'm sure you caught where I was going to.
Yes, I know. Collaborate. So the budget committee shall collaborate with the minister responsible for finance and the office of the president in the initiation, formulation, and implementation of the national budget. Of course, this is not an opposition-chaired committee.
The budget?
Yeah, budget is not.
Budget is not?
No.
Okay.
It's not. It's actually a government.
No, budget is. No, budget committee is. If you look at order 210,
the budget committee is.
Yeah,
and they say their function is what?
That's a dangerous one.
Yeah. And their function is what?
Yeah. No, but that's Osechi Mensah-Bonsu's vision. He really pushed this strongly. He wants thorough oversight.
So this committee has started work.
Yes.
Okay, so
yes,
the budget
because the media review is coming.
So it means that the media review they have to.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, who's chairing this committee?
Let me check. I'll get it for you in a minute. No, Adongo remains at finance. Adongo remains at finance, but I'll get that for you in a chip for you.
That's interesting. I've never averted my mind to
look at the function.
Yes, it's so they are supposed to be responsible for budget preparation, collaborating with the finance minister and office of the president.
Yes,
to prepare the budget.
Yes.
So it's chaired by the Honorable Thomas Nyakuampem. Oh, my good neighbor, Esojaman. Yeah. And his deputy is Honorable Richard
Initiation, formulation, and implementation of the national budget.
Yes.
The budget commission shall consider and report to the House on the medium-term expenditure framework and the broad medium-term policy target, an appropriation bill laid before Parliament, and a report laid in respect of off-budget reporting or expenditure in advance of appropriation. Consider the annual budget and determine whether the annual budget gives effect to Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
Wow.
Analyze and report to the House the impact of tax waivers on the economy and perform any other function assigned by Parliament.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
To see how.
What about the numbers on some of these?
17.
Yeah, it's 17.
So who?
And the ranking member is Honorable Giftina Yele Mensah.
But how is it the 17? How is it shared?
The ratio. So
it's actually 15. The budget committee shall comprise a chairman, a ranking member, and not more than 13 other members.
So 15.
So it's a 15 member.
Well, so there's some flexibility. What I have here, what was presented?
Okay, all right.
17.
On the list. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So 9-8.
It'll be interesting. Let's see how. But of course, I mean, based on the difficulty or the ease with which these committees are able to function, then I suspect that there may be the need for some review at some point, or if it works well, then why not?
So is it even possible that in the event where you have a clear majority in Parliament, although the minority will chair it, in terms of the numbers on the committee,
then you have a certain proportion that then will enable you to.
Anyway,
wow.
And I'm also excited about the petitions committee. You see, previously
there's a new one.
Yeah, previously we didn't have a petitions committee, so you have to either look for an MP, look for your MP, or fish for any MP interested in your petition to receive it and then lay it in the House and shepherd it for you. But now there's a committee for that. And then we also have a committee for private members' bill. So that's really going to get all of us to be more interested in private members. It will also make progress in terms of that constitutional provision, which really limits, MPs from proposing private members' bills. Now the standing orders is more forward-looking. So I think that when we come to constitutional review, that provision really will have to be looked at, because business
the 108,
a charge,
finance.
A charge on the consolidated fund. It
But
is
of
really
course,
limited.
you see, I think there's good reason why.
Yes,
that provision exists.
but I think that it was
because otherwise,
but it was too sweeping.
If you are able to shepherd a bill through Parliament, regardless of the financial implication, and it passes, then somebody has to look for the resources to make sure that the act that has been passed is operationalized. And if no assessment is done to determine the impact, to see whether indeed it is something that has to be done or not, then that in itself has its own inherent problems that may not, augur well for the management of our economy. So I guess there are, pluses and minuses in all of this. So yes, by all means, let's look at it and then see how we can formulate it in a way that helps the cause of our country.
But you see, in all of these committees, the committee that we really have to keep an eye on is a Ways and Means Committee. If you don't have reasonable people there, they can frustrate the work of other committees. It's such a powerful committee, and that's why in the U.S., the late John Lewis became very famous.
What are the functions?
So it says that the Ways and Means Committee comprises the Deputy Majority Leader as chairperson, the Deputy Minority Leader as vice chairperson, the Chief Whips, and not more than 9 other members. The committee shall A, monitor and coordinate the activities of all parliamentary committees as regard the proper execution of their mandate. B, consider requests for the establishment of ad hoc committees and submit reports to the House with recommendations. C, consider the programs of every committee, including their travel requirements for meetings outside the precincts of Parliament. D, receive and consider the annual work plans containing the program of activities and budget of the committees for inclusion in the annual budget estimates of Parliament. E, determine the resource requirements and the formula for the allocation of funds to committees. Just think about that. Very powerful committee. Be responsible for the quarterly allocation of funds to committees from the budget of Parliament. Periodically review the performance of committees of the House. And H, ensure that committees submit reports as required by law. So it's virtually like the committee supervising all the other committees. And so I hope that people will go in there with a positive mindset to strengthen Parliament and not to, be selective and engage in favoritism.
First of all, I think that the functions of committees must also influence the kinds of persons who are nominated onto those committees. I guess this is not a direct accusation against Parliament, especially with these your new committees and all that. I don't know which one I'll be held before. But, sometimes you listen to people and it looks like there is a certain identification of which one is lucrative and which one is not lucrative. Which one has specs and which one has less specs. And so the consideration many a times is not really about looking at the functions of the committee and who best fits those positions, But it's more about, is he senior? Is it this? If he didn't get this, can we put him here so that... So I think that in order to help, because you see, when you have done this configuration, it has to be driven by the competence and work ethics of the persons who are put on it.
Absolutely.
Without that, it will not serve the purpose for which, this thing was done.
Spot on.
So if, for example, you are told that a deputy leaders will chair committees like this, in even determining who becomes your deputy leader, you must also consider
have that in mind.
The role of a deputy leader, the functions of the deputy leader, especially and all those things must then influence some of these decisions.
No, you are spot on. It's been a function of our politics for a long time, isn't it? Let's compensate this person is very senior. This person has just probably lost out on a ministerial consideration. This person is from a difficult constituency. Can we find a committee that has a lot of resources so that we can help the person keep the constituency? I'm not saying that all of these considerations are not worth, looking at, but it should not be, the overriding consideration. And I totally agree with you, because at the end of the day, it's about strengthening our democracy. If you read all of these reports from the Afrobarometer to all the latest ones I've read from Democracy Watch and others, you notice that in Africa, particularly the youth, have become increasingly disillusioned about democracy. The literature is that the African people are not getting what is called the democracy dividend, benefiting them directly. And for the first time in a very long time, there are now sentiments that, look, can we try something else? The military junta is not better.
So let me read this to you.
Don't we get better results?
Let me read this to you.
And that must worry us.
But please take note of that. As you tell us, my parliamentary.
Yeah.
Now, Afrobarometer's flagship report on democratic trends in Africa has found that a majority of young people are dissatisfied with democratic governance in their countries. The report, which surveyed 39 countries across Africa, indicates a growing disillusionment with democracy among the youth, who are increasingly leaning towards military rule as a temporary solution to the failures of civilian leaders. Various factors have contributed to this trend, including unemployment, corruption, and a lack of accountability. Boniface Dulani, Director of Service at the Afrobarometer, shared his insights during the report's launch in Accra on Wednesday. He expressed concern over this trend, noting that most young people in this generation have not experienced military rule and are therefore unaware of its associated dangers. Quote, most of the youth have never experienced military rule, so they might be looking at it as something to try because democracy is failing. But if you've lived through a military regime, you might know that as bad as democracy is, it's certainly better than that kind of government. However, about 53% of Africans are telling us that if governments are failing or abusing office, then the military should step in and clear that. But at the same time, many people are also rejecting military rule, even though the numbers are declining. So what this tells us is that military rule is being looked at as an option when civilians have failed, and they are looked at as a temporary solution, not a permanent one. And Mr. Dulani urged governments to take the concerns of their citizens seriously and address them adequately. Government should never take people for granted, because although there was an excitement for democracy in the 1990s, what we are seeing now is that people are not happy with democracy and asking themselves questions of what democracy is really offering to them and trying to find other alternatives. So this Afrobarometer poll shows an African average of 53% who prefer military rule to democratic rule. The Ghana specific one has about 45. So 55% prefer democratic rule or democracy, but 45%, that's a Ghana specific. 45% think that the military option is something to look at.
It's too high. It's too high.
My worry is the statement to the fact that they are looking at, or these 45% prefer military rule on a temporary basis. But what does it really mean? To say that
it means that they perhaps are speaking to their current situation.
So that if the current situation,
they think it must be terminated, it mustn't continue.
But the termination should not require military rule or preference for that.
Between you and I.
So that's what. Well, I mean.
So that's why the report is. That's why the report is talking about disillusionment.
No, I agree.
And it's saying that over the years it keeps dropping. So maybe if you look at 10 years ago, you will not find even 30%.
So you recall that on several occasions on this platform, I've said that we, the political class, essentially the kinds of things that we see about each other, most of which we know to be false, purely on the altar of political expediency, is feeding into these kinds of desires that is increasingly creeping in people's minds. So you sit down and you say your political opponent is, say, a liar. In the sense is that politicians are liars. But what's the basis of that allegation in the first place? That your opponent has made campaign commitments, manifesto promises. He hasn't been able to achieve all of them. And indeed and in fact, a cut across both political divide. You make commitments, you're unable to meet all of them because of a certain reality that you experience in government. But for expediency, you lie your way into government. You did this, you did this, you did this. Really, is that the best language that we have to use in our political discourse? Oh, you are a thief. State capture. That's the favorite word of my good friend, yes, Sami Okujeto Ablakwa.
Absolutely.
And you look at the facts.
So look at this screen.
And I'm looking at it.
Just look at this one. And this has to do with confidence in these
institutions.
Yes. So you see, Army.
Yes.
Army is at 67%.
Yes.
Religious leaders 43. The courts 36. Electoral Commission 33.
No, I've seen. I mean, every year they run this, and I think twice a year or so.
Do you see where Parliament is?
Yeah, I see 27.
Ruling party 27.
Parliament 27. Opposition parties 29.
Sadly, traditional leaders.
Yeah, 25.
I'm sure Galamsey will play a big part. And chieftaincy disputes.
I agree. But like I was coming back to the democracy relative to military rule.
Yes.
Because like the survey itself identified, many of the youth of this country haven't experienced or did not experience the coup d'etats of 66 and 72, 79 and 81. Especially the 79-89 ones, which essentially reduced people's dignity.
So for those who are watching, what you're seeing now has to do with the demography.
To levels that I can never, ever wish on anybody, regardless. Okay, accountability by all means, I agree. And I believe that we have institutions that, if we empower them, are able to play that role, okay, to ensure that public office holders are held to account. Because after all, it's part of the reason why you go into office. You need to be able to open yourself up for people to hold you to account for the service that you render to our people. But the kind of language, it's a key factor in how people, because otherwise, if we all agree that democracy has faults, it's not a perfect system. I'm not sure we'll ever have any perfect system of government. But the ability of we, the citizens, to regularly choose who leads us. Of course, there are institutions that hold you to check, Parliament and all that. We can seek for constitutional reform to improve the checks and balances within the system. Talk of ministers not being drawn from Parliament and all that. It's all suggestions that would go, if implemented, to improve the system. But for the youth to have that kind of preference, the kind of content that they read on social media, mostly the Gen Zs, you'll see cartoons, purely politically sponsored cartoons. Right? And it cuts both ways. I'm not speaking as if to say when the MPP was in government, it did not make statements that painted the NDC in a certain light. When they complained of, they're doing the same today. But I'm saying that, can we not oppose? Can we not object? Can we not put across our message as a preferred opposition or alternative, devoid of the tagging, which in most cases in themselves are false, so that the narrative can begin to change? And this is a conversation that we all seriously ought to look at. Because Randy, look, some of us, we've risked, sacrificed to come into public service also. And we know the ramifications of military interventions and what is done to people. we are better off returning to our private lives. You get what I mean? But it's an honorable thing to want to serve your country in some capacity of sorts. So I don't have any difficulty at all, but I'm worried.
So yes, no.
And you recall, I come here and I tell my friends, several locations, let's watch the kind of language that we use. I don't remember whether it was last year or 2 years ago. There was a strong pitch, even within the political class, for military intervention. Scary. As if to say when the military comes, it's only MP people who are going to be affected. It's the entire member of parliament were ransacked to Gonda barracks and other places in a dehumanizing manner. It will affect both of us. So it's important.
So I get the point you're making, and I think that they are very, very legitimate points that we all need to look at. However, I mean, we all know that they say when you take things for granted, you lose them.
Yeah, you're right.
So democracy is the preferred option. We have very terrible experiences with military rule that we do not, for those who have experienced it, or those who have perhaps read a lot about it, or those who have been affected in a way about it, it's a place where you don't want to be again.
Not only for the people who suffered it personally, for the entirety of the country.
No, that's why I said,
yeah,
for those who experienced it, for those who saw it, for those who, so different categories of people, those who even read about it.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, you don't want to go there. Now, so the preferred vehicle is the democratic dispensation. Now, this issue of confidence erosion in the democratic dispensation didn't start with this Afrobarometer report. It has been declining steadily over the years.
True.
The question is, do we still continue harping on why military is not an option?
No.
Instead of looking at why the disillusionment keeps growing and what we can do to sustain the democracy. Because it appears to me that what we have been doing over the years is to always refer to how negative and terrible the military thing is and how it is not an option, without addressing
I agree with you,
the issues that create the disillusionment and being seen to be practically doing something about it. Because you talked about the institutions that are supposed to provide the checks and balances and give assurance to people. Look at their ranking in Afro. So you understand that even institutions that democracy has created to provide those things for us, the checks and balances and the assurances and the protection and everything, confidence in those institutions themselves are way, way, way down. You understand what I'm saying? They are way down.
I get you.
So what those of us who know, let's even pretend for once that we perhaps know better than the young people. For those of us who know better and who have experienced worse, what have we been doing to address these issues? Because when there is a public accounts committee hearing and it's live on TV, they watch it.
Yeah.
When there's Good Morning Ghana, they watch it. They read newspapers. Like you say, they're on social media. They see everything. So yes, the issues of the misinformation and disinformation and everything, they are there. But what is also actually happening is also available to them. The courts, proceedings at the courts.
Randy, I agree.
Serious fraud office or office of special prosecutor, all those things. All that kind of information is available to them. So what is it for those of us who know that this thing should not be an option at all? What have we done? Which concrete steps have we taken? Apart from just reminding people that it cannot be an option. It cannot be an option. It cannot be an option.
So, Randy, it's all fed by perception. Okay, and the kinds of things that is put out there. Of course, you talk of the public accounts reports. By and large, you would see that it's civil public servants, okay, who are often found to have caused those kinds of infractions, right? Will those people go away when another form of government is instituted?
Yeah, but
is the accountability is how
yes.
you hold them
yes.
to make sure
yes.
that these things
yes.
do not recur.
Yes, because that's your responsibility.
And so you need to then look at the powers of the Public Accounts Committee itself. And I've had calls as a member of the Special Budget Committee. Okay.
Which one is that?
Oh, it's one of the. I don't know whether it's still there. They are responsible for the constitutional institutions. Okay, so Auditor General, Electoral Commission,
NCC,
and all those bodies. I had calls to ask the controller, the Accountant General, okay, or the Auditor General, on an occasion when he visited the committee, that look, by the time that the audit is done and the reporting to Parliament, is it the case that some things change? And if some things change, is there a mechanism for including or reporting the changes that have occurred also to the Parliamentary Select Committee or the Speaker of Parliament? He says, no, there's no such mechanism. So, many a time, the report do not reflect the corrections or the sanctions that have been, as it were, instituted to ensure the cleaning up of the infractions that we see in those reports. So we need to improve the system, okay? Because the truth is, the time the Public Accounts Committee hears or conducts these public hearings, many of the infractions, I'm not saying all, but many of them may have been resolved. But that is not brought to the fore. And so then the impression or the perception that is left in the minds of people is that, people are sitting in government offices and doing all sorts of things. Okay. And so we need to look at that. But I agree that going forward and to ensure that this trend of decline in state institutions, okay, democratic institutions, we need to take some firm, bold decisions by providing information out there. So look, Randy, another example that I'll cite, you work in Parliament, you have conditions of service, you get a loan to purchase a vehicle that you pay over 4 years. Yes, the state picks a portion of your, or all of your interest and a portion of the principal amount that you borrowed.
And the duty.
And then, of course, the tax exemption benefit that you get as well. But everybody feels that, hey, you are living large. Randy? But is it really the case that you are living large? Ministers of state have conditions of service, so they have vehicles that they drive. You hear opposition, hey, you guys are feeding off the public purse. Randy, is it really the case that people are feeding off the public purse? You know how it is difficult to even have access to public funds. I'm running a ministry now, okay? And the kind of narrative that we put out there, people want roads, and they do not appreciate that. Look, the roads cannot come because your public finances in a certain manner, okay, where your interest component, your wages and salaries of public service workers, your what you call it, statutory payments, practically consumes all your tax revenue. And so it cannot be the case that government can provide all the roads across the country in every community of Ghana at the same time. But we do it with a politic, okay? Because it serves our interest. And so those kinds of things, I really think that it really a question of how we begin to push the narrative of what the reality is, okay? So people can begin to appreciate that, oh, yes, there are issues. But it's not as if to say somebody is milking off the sacred cow and is not deploying the resources to improve our lot, the reason why we are where we are. And I think that if we begin to let people appreciate really what the issues are and the steps that are being taken and the clear sense of appreciating that it will take time for us to get to the point where unemployment would reduce to the levels that we see in advanced countries. Road infrastructure will be provided, water, sanitation will get to the point where we all wish. It's not an event, it will take time, and that we are better off sticking with our democracy as it is, rather than wishing for the alternative that we probably don't know what really it holds for us.
So there's an interesting text to you.
Yeah, sure.
From Kojo Anderson in the UK. It says, Bobo is on TV and he says we should empower institutions when his own government is packing these institutions with openly partisan members of society and undermining their work.
You see,
the courts, Electoral Commission, Audit Service, Bank of Ghana, Controller and Accountants General's Department, etc. The young of the continent are expressing their disdain for democracy because even where they see what is obvious, their sentiments are brushed off. They see people who had no jobs get into government and become millionaires overnight and flaunting this ill-gotten wealth in their faces. He who is down fears no fall. A storm is brewing on the continent. The earlier we take these seriously, the better for our democracy.
I'm not so sure whether I've said we shouldn't take the supposed storm seriously. But yes, statements to the effect that packing institutions. Is there any factual basis in that? I do not think so.
If I see, well, for example, if I see, and there's a video I've played several times, if the young people, they see a party communicator appointed as a commissioner on the Electoral Commission, which is supposed to be an independent organization dealing with our elections, what is the perception that it creates? How do they take it?
But Randy, so what do these institutions derive their independence from? It's not an appointment. It's the removal. The ease with which someone can remove you is where the independence is supposed to be derived from. Because if we say that by reason, and I do not know the party communicator that you make reference to, I'm not saying that you...
Oh, that is what's his name?
Not a problem.
Yeah, the one was appointed recently.
Of course, you go back and you see political party functionaries having been appointed to several independent institutions, including the Electoral Commission in the past. But I'm not interested in the equalization because it doesn't help the discourse. But I'm saying that by reason of the fact that he's a Ghanaian and he is qualified to hold a certain office, his previous acts cannot bar him from future positions being occupied. I do not believe so.
So, Bobo, if I
but I'm saying that if the person deposes to an oath to act in the interest of Ghana, to be impartial, and that the Constitution has placed impediments in the way of the appointor, then I expect that that person should abide by the oath that he has sworn.
So you're suggesting that if tomorrow,
yes,
Mr. Fifi Fiavikwete, who by all standards is qualified to be the chairman of the Electoral Commission of Ghana, is appointed as the chairman of the Electoral Commission, to the extent that he's a Ghanaian and he qualifies and he will depose to an oath, it's okay.
Randy, you see, it's the bastardization, okay, of our own politicking that would probably raise eyebrows when Fifi Kwete occupies that position. But otherwise, then the suggestion then would be that because you do not know what holds for you tomorrow, you cannot engage in any activity political today. Because you never know.
Yeah, so once you get into that place, there are places that ought to be no-go areas.
How so? Like Electoral Commission and...
No, I'm saying there are because how does your political opponent expect you to be an impartial arbiter when you indeed...
It's difficult. I agree. It's difficult. It's a difficult one.
So can we just agree that for some institutions, we ought to stay off?
Where do we draw the line? What institutions and should be off the cart and which ones should be on? I don't know. But I'm saying that if we ourselves, okay, believe in oaths that we take and the import of certain offices that we occupy, your background necessarily should not be an issue. But yes, within the context of our environment, it becomes an issue. And I'm not saying that they are not. Okay? But there's suggestion, for example, that courts are being packed. How factual is it? There's a process for appointing justices to the Superior Court of Judicature here in this country. There's a process for appointing justices to the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, and all of that. There's a process for appointing people into administrative bodies. So if somebody says that it's being packed, what does it really mean? The military organizations, they go through a recruitment process. So there's a sense, and in some cases true, that MPs in previous and current governments may be asked to submit one name, say. But if the person hasn't met the eligibility criteria, they will not go through. So really, I agree, there's a seeming sense of despondency across broad segment of our population about our democracy. And we ought to find ways to curb it. No doubt whatsoever. But I'm saying many of the things that influence that thinking itself is as a result of what we ourselves in the political class do to ourselves. I'm convinced that that is a primary reason for some of the things that we hear and see, particularly among the Gen Zs.
Okay. Sorry?
Yeah, Doc, let me begin by expressing my deepest appreciation to the Ghanaian people, because I may be remiss if I do not really highlight this major development, which is the success we all chalked on the matter of the SNIT hotels. It's the first thing I intended to do this morning, because we broke that story on this show on the 17th of May, 2 months ago. This is where we discussed the matter. Indeed, it was that morning I filed a petition at Shraj and moved here immediately thereafter to break the story, and we discussed it in detail. We have since, subsequently over the last 2 months, delved into the matters and discussed all of the documents. I have to be honest with you, Doc, that I have been absolutely overwhelmed with the solidarity of the Ghanaian people, their sense of unity, the patriotism that Ghanaians demonstrated on this matter. Look, all the gains that have been made, the victories that have been chalked, and how we have successfully gotten the government, the SNIT, the MPRA to take their hands off our hotels. That monumental victory could not have been achieved without the support of the Ghanaian people, particularly organized labor. I do not recall the last time in our history that organized labor, no matter the class, no matter the department, probably you may go as far back as 1948, the 1948 riots, which saw traders, workers, everybody mobilizing against the colonialists. I mean, look at the avalanche of statements from TUC, the Federation of Labor, the Ghana Medical Association, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwife Association, mortuary workers, GPRTU, you know, utility service providers. I can go on and on, just name them, across the country, nationwide. And by Friday last week, when their statements started pouring in. The people who had been defending this, standing their guns, being intransigent, being belligerent, being bellicose, recalcitrant, refusing to listen to the Ghanaian people, immediately when they saw fire on the mountain, they were withdrawing from the transaction. The SNIT board chair, close to midnight of same day last week, Friday, who had been writing epistles defending this very obscene transaction. If you read the May 24, 2024 Transaction Advisors Report, damning report that the terms that were being offered to Rock City, owned by the Honorable Brad Champon, was not made available to other bidders. Rock City was being allowed to own majority shares by installments. No interest over a 24-month period. No bank statements. I mean, unconscionable terms. And the transaction advisor, who we paid good money, $491,000, over 7 million Ghana cedis. I mean, if you won't listen to your own transaction advisor you've appointed, Dr. Sam Mensah, you won't listen to Sem Capital, why waste our money on them? And the transaction advisors report confirmed the favoritism, the discrimination, the insider dealing that we have always known was associated with this transaction. Due to the Ghanaian people putting the country first and rising up and saying enough is enough, SNIT, an organization which treated workers with utter contempt, refused to listen to organized labor, held press conferences upon press conferences, defending this unconscionable transaction. They were forced to eat humble pie. Now, this victory, Doc, I have to be very, very clear about this, is not a personal victory. It is a victory for the Ghanaian people. It is a victory for organized labor. It is a victory for the workers of our country. Now, the major lesson from this development is that when we all come together, when we put the national interests first, we put Ghana first, and we really relegate other sectarian interests, whether partisan or ethnic or professional or what have you, we will be unstoppable. And there is nothing we cannot achieve. So I want to salute all Ghanaians, the thousands who joined us on that June 18 march. We have all collectively written our names in history. Imagine what we will have achieved if we really demonstrated this great solidarity about all the things that we detest. Imagine the gains we will have made. So I celebrate the Ghanaian people, and I want to thank you, Metro TV. You really, shed light on this matter. You gave platforms to all sides. My only regret this morning is that my brother missed the opportunity to be on the side of history, on the side of the Ghanaian people, because he was defending this obnoxious transaction right from the get-go at several platforms. And it reminds me of the PDS matter, when the minority cautioned in Parliament that those entities that had been hurriedly put together could not deliver the goods, and they would not have the track record. Fortunately, once again, history will record my brother as one of those who was on the wrong side of history. Eventually,
I hope you are on the right side of history when your government is in power.
Definitely.
When Extreme Cubic was being done, you were in this country.
So
that was not state capture. We'll get there.
So once again, Ejapa Mensah failed really to associate with the masses of our country. He got it totally wrong, and he unfortunately will not share in this great history that the Ghanaian people made. But really, Doc, we have to celebrate Ghanaians. We have to celebrate organized labor. And you see, it's a very eloquent reminder to all politicians across the political divide that you dare not take the people for granted. If you fail to listen to the people, they will rise up. And when they rise up, you cannot stop them. I mean, look at the impunity with which the employment minister went to Parliament and said, oh, look, MPRA has said they should go ahead. We are going ahead. We are going to sell. Less than 2 weeks. Now the MPRA has joined the infamous conspiracy. I have filed an RTI request to them. We demand a publication of that review they did under 2 weeks, which is superior to the transaction advisors report. Let me also announce this morning, Doc, that our team, and you know we put together a team of lawyers led by your good friend, Professor Kweku Azar, what we are calling the Public Asset Protection Bill. I can announce this morning that it's done. Next week we will publish the Private Members Bill. And it's a very interesting piece of legislative draft. Very, very interesting. And we're calling it the Public Asset Protection Bill 2024. And we are saying that all of these public officials must be prohibited from purchasing state assets. They include elected officials, whether you are MPs, assembly members, all elected representatives, senior government officials, ministers, deputy ministers, heads of government department agencies, judiciary members, judges and other judicial officers. They cannot purchase state assets. High-ranking military officials, state officers in the armed forces, state-owned enterprise executives, regulatory and supervisory authorities, officials in regulatory bodies that oversee public procurement and asset management, the immediate family members, so the politically exposed persons, immediate family members, spouses, children, parents, siblings, then entities with controlling interests, companies, organizations, where these public officers hold significant ownership or control. This bill is also going to mandate the establishment of a state assets database. Are you aware, Doc, that if you demand to know how many state bungalows we have in Ghana, they can't give you the number? Yet when it's time to sell them, they know where they are. But they can't tell us. We've been asking in Parliament for years. They can't tell us. Lands, how many is left? State lands, they can't tell us. We have been asking the lands minister for years. Tell us, we want a full publication of lands that have been sold since 1992. State lands and those who bought them. We have been demanding. I filed an urgent question. Honorable Agboja filed an urgent question. We want to know since 1992. State lands, who bought them? How much did they buy them? How transparent was the process? The last time we reminded him, he said, oh, let's be careful. The political class may, come under attack. And so what?
That's what the minister
said. Yeah, that's what he was telling us in Parliament. The records will reflect that. Yeah. I mean, trying to virtually, blackmail us. We won't accept that blackmail. It has to be published. Look, this country, we must know all of our state assets so that as citizens, collectively, we can protect those state assets. So if you know of Parks and Gardens land in Wa, you know that this is it, this is the demarcation. This is exactly where it is. Then you can help us protect it. I think that, look, after many, many years of being on this crusade, this is long overdue. So we are calling it the Registry of Assets. And it will be a mandate of SIGA, the State Interest and Governance Authority. It will be a mandate to coordinate with all state institutions, to compile and publish all state assets so that there will be transparency. You can go on a website and you can know the state assets that we have. The state capture, the looting, has gone on for far too long. It has to stop. So next week we will publish this. And what I like about this is that if you think that you have bought state assets, no matter which period, under this Fourth Republic, and you are going to get away with it. We are saying you have to divest your interest. It's all here. So very interesting piece of legislation.
So you expect it to take retrospective effect?
Yes, we have contemplated that. Yeah.
But it's interesting, eh?
You know, so if I can,
yeah, sure.
Just, you know the format of the program. So we'll publish this. We'll have a stakeholder consultation. We want to solicit as much input as possible. Look, those who thought that this whole battle against state capture is just partisan or targeted at one person, it's not. And all of us want to be measured by the same standards. And this will affect NDC politicians too. Some people out there have been trying to personalize this. That is about one person. It's never been. Look, there are many instances I've talked about state capture. I've gone to court. It's never been about one person. There's so many people who have had questions to answer about state capture, which has reached levels that are just nauseating. And we all see it. So this is to really silence those critics who think that we are just looking for short-term gains, short-term, cheap political gains, where when we come to power, we will do worse. That's not what this is about. And I have said that the things that are going on, we are not going to allow it to continue, even if it is our own party that is in power and engaging in conduct like that. I mean, can you imagine an NDC government, and then we say that, oh, now we can sell those hotels, those same hotels we oppose, now we can sell them to ourselves. How will we look? Where will be our credibility? You think some of us will be part of such a government? That's why I want to commend the former President Mahama this morning, who stated at his media press the last time very emphatically that no member of his government will be allowed to purchase state assets. So already I can see that somebody like President Mahama, when he is sworn in, inshallah, 7 January 2025, if by that time this bill has not been assented to by President Akufo-Addo, I have no doubt that President Mahama, with his public statements on this matter, will have no difficulty at all assenting to this. What I also like about this bill is that even years after leaving office, for now we are considering 5 years. The 5 years after leaving office, as happens in other jurisdictions, you cannot participate in such transactions. You can't buy state assets. You know, at least 5 years. So there's a moratorium. So you don't set your eyes on something when you are in power, and then in a few weeks or few months when you leave, you go and grab it. It's not going to happen. So it's a far-reaching. We've looked at best practice, the US, UK, France, Kenya, you know, and we have made ours even stronger and consolidated all these laws that you find in bits and pieces in other jurisdictions. So I want to salute the team led by Professor Kweku Azar. This should give assurance. A lot of the labor leaders have been calling me that, hey, Honorable, we've worked together, we've been allies in this. Are you sure that this is not just partisan? Are you sure that you are not going to embarrass all of us when you come to power and we have to, you know, again declare strike against you? I said, no, this has been, you know, we've been consistent on this and we are determined. We're going to have a law this time, you know. So this is particular to all the labor leaders who have been concerned that, look, we don't want to follow you and you go and disgrace us. Is there real commitment? This is your answer. We are really, really committed. We are going to drive this new private members bill and make sure it becomes law. And that should tell you how committed we are. So a big thank you to the people of Ghana, Metro TV, and all of you. Let me quickly just respond briefly to the Afrobarometer. My colleague has spent considerable time on our political language, our verbiage, our descriptions of each other and all of that. I really don't think that that is where we should start from. Look, if democracy is working, you have high integrity, you are conducting yourself well. Even when your opponents try to call you a thief, it is the masses who will expose you that, hey, shut up. You have no fact. You have no evidence. They will expose you. Hasn't it been going on this show? I watched a video from this show a few days ago, and I pitied that MP, Honorable Chinia. Oh, Mahama bought state land, Mahama. When you subjected him to street proof, he said, oh, let's move on. Let's, another day. You know, so that's what will be happening. If you come to power, you are not corrupt. You haven't engaged in insider dealing, in conflict of interest. You are not looting state lands. You are leading with integrity. You haven't appointed over 100 ministers. Your government is not bloated. You are not living a profligate lifestyle. You are not flying private charter when you have a presidential jet, 20,000 euros an hour. Meanwhile, you are telling everybody to tighten their belt. You can't find your belt at all. You are showering in the skies, 20,000 euros an hour. And then people say, hey, we are suffering. Unemployment is at an all-time high, 14.7%. You think that it is language that will resolve these issues? It's not a language matter. Look, let me share with you some frightening statistics. Very frightening statistics. And that is what the youth of our country are responding to. And you see, in these discussions, let's be very, very honest about it. If our colleague politicians in Guinea, in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in Kenya recently, and it's still going on, only yesterday, I pity President Ruto. Now he doesn't know what to do again. He's reduced his ministers, the institutions in his country by 47. He's dissolved 47 institutions. He has closed down offices of first ladies, second ladies. Say we won't spend on them again. Closed down. Suspended special assistants, PAs. Reduced salaries by half. He has sacked all his ministers. Everybody. He said, go home. The youth says, no, it's you we want. You are the one who was leading us poorly. We want you to go. We are not satisfied. Can you believe that? And only this week, the youth are out there again on the streets. So you see, if Kenyan politicians had this opportunity of Afrobarometer and all the other surveys, and they approached it with honesty, they didn't hide under language and verbiage. The crisis that they have now, the military juntas that have taken over, they will not have taken over. So in Ghana, what is our current situation? The Ghana Trade Report says that Ghana imported food worth 26.7 billion in 2023. Can you believe that?
Dollars.
Yes, 26.7. These imports included guinea fowls, onions, tomatoes, fish, beef. We imported guinea fowls from Denmark. Can you believe that? Denmark. We have become the third largest importer of tomato paste from Germany. Tomato paste. We have more arable land than Germany. We have now become dependent on fish imports. We are also importing tomatoes from Burkina Faso and onions from Niger, which are semi-deserts. That is the Ghana Trade Report. Then you've seen the latest one by the Statistical Service, which reveals that 43.5% have experienced severe poverty through deprivations. The report also says that 24.3% of the household population are multidimensionally poor. A third of our population are multidimensionally poor. And 36.7% of people living in rural areas are the worst affected. Multidimensionally poor. I mean, very frightening statistics. Look at what is happening to pensioner bondholders. All of us in school, we were told that if you want to invest, or we used to join these clubs, motivational speakers will come as you are learning, and when you get your job and you leave school, you know, government securities, risk-free, they are the best. That's what they told us.
With the list, they have the least risk.
Yes, least risk. Be careful about those private guys. Now, I have more confidence in going to give my money to Isaac Adongo to keep for me than this Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. I have more confidence. Isaac Adongo or Honorable Atufosin are finance experts on the minority. I have more confidence. I will give them my money to keep for me than to go and look for Bawumia's government and its economic management team. For the first time in this country's history, we are undergoing a domestic debt exchange program. Meaning, government can't give you your own money back, your life savings. They are forced to take a haircut. Even if you are as bad as me, they say, come to the barber shop.
Such falsehood with ease. Why do you do that?
These are facts. Ghana is not going through.
But the domestic debt exchange means that your own money government is not giving you.
Yes,
back to
that
you.
is it.
Is that what it means?
It says you get a haircut. That's what
You get a haircut
of what?
You get a haircut.
Haircut of what?
That is the
haircut of what?
You haven't seen the pensioner bond holders.
Let's not do this.
You haven't seen the pensioner bond holders. Please. When you were talking, I didn't interfere. These are the facts. Pensioner bond holders can't get their life savings. They can't get it. They have to. Yes. Yeah. Those who were demonstrating at the finance ministry are ghosts. The former Chief Justice.
But nobody has been deprived of his money.
The former Chief Justice who joined them.
Speak the truth.
It's a ghost. The former Chief Justice of Akufu who joined the protesters to picket at the Ministry of Finance. It was probably an imposter who went to the Ministry of Finance. And you see, this is the problem where even the people's pain will not be recognized. Government officials will not even sympathize with the people. After they have created this mess, what didn't we tell you in Parliament? When you were borrowing like there's no tomorrow. You borrowed at a point it was over 100% of GDP. Living lavishly. Appointed over 100 ministers. Look at the list of presidential staffers. Look at the reckless projects they were investing in. Whose idea was it that God suddenly, the only way Ghana can be blessed is if we have a $450 million national cathedral? Whose idea was that? To build it in 4 years. Grand, big, useless vision. No priority. When your hospitals don't have beds, they don't have incubators. Your hospitals don't have MRIs. That is what leads to the agitations. So look, I will also appeal to the young people of our country that military rule cannot be the option. They themselves recognizing that they want the military to come in temporarily. It should tell you that they just want a cleanup and then they go back to the barracks. But I believe that we can do that cleanup. We the people, if we team up. If Parliament, and it's unfortunate that Parliament is not doing well. And I hope that we'll all sit up. Many people are going to Parliament to catch the eye of presidents, extreme partisanship. So Parliament is not carrying out its checks and balances under the Montesquieu doctrine of making sure that we hold the executive to account. We have largely derelicted. And that is why confidence in the parliamentary institution is at an all-time low. All of us must be worried, the democratic institutions, that it is the military that is high up there, 67%. Why can't we be up there with the military? An electoral commission, as I conclude. I mean, see, look at its electoral commission. And you see, I disagree with my colleague that you can just appoint anybody and the independence is really about removal. Hey, even the removal thing, the Charlotte Osei matter shows us that even removal, if they are determined to remove you, you can be removed easily. So let's put that aside. We must all, at all times, make sure that we build confidence because we are talking about perception. You can't find people who are not known communicators, party activists. Was this not the same party, I recall, in the run-up to Charlotte Osei's nomination when Dr. Farijan's tenure was coming to an end. They held intellectual discussions, Dankwa Institute and others. They said, can we even have a system where President Mahama will consult with all the opposition parties on the appointment of an electoral commissioner? Doc, were you not in this country? Gabi Ochidako and others wrote extensively. Dankwa Institute wrote extensively. Today, because you are in power and appointing your party apparatchiks, you say that, oh, let's not worry about the appointments. Let's be thinking about protection. And you think that we are going to go with that and keep these people. I will any day advocate a total cleansing of these institutions. And I'm not shy to talk about that. The same way Charlotte Osei was booted out, who was not a known party activist. And I'm glad that already, the grounds that they use against Charlotte Osei, is it incompetence, procurement breaches? Charlotte Osei at least didn't declare multiple elections. And up to now, we don't even know exactly what the 2020 election results are. They should get ready. Didn't they say that the presidency is just a conveyor belt on these matters? All those political hacks. Because, look, the only way is to implement some tough decisions when we take over. We must not disappoint the Ghanaian people. And we must make sure that people who have no business being in certain institutions, the earlier they are weeded out with all the force we can muster, the better. And begin to restore confidence. Because, look, if your electoral arbiter, the Ghanaian people, are saying that they don't have confidence in them, and it is 33%. I mean, that is just a third of the population. I mean, what could be so damning? I would have thought that as for electoral commission, they should even be higher than the Ghana Armed Forces. Then we can all, when there is a declaration of results, we know that, look, we will go by it, all of us will have confidence. So, look, let's all be worried. Let's not play ostrich. We have seen what is happening, you know, in neighboring countries. This is not a time to play ostrich at all. Let's admit, as I conclude, Doc, all it took for the Asian tigers we celebrate. I have read Lee Kuan Yew's book, all his books. It was just 30 years. Just 30 years, one generation, to move from third world to first world. How old is this Fourth Republic? How old? 32, 33 years. And things that the Singaporeans, the Malaysians won't understand, that there can be a hospital without a bed, without an MRI, without an incubator, and they call it hospital. That pregnant women are delivering on bare floors. That young people can't find jobs. Things that they will not even believe. All it took 30 years. Look at Rwanda. You saw how Kagame won over 99%. Because he's delivering, and it's democracy. Yes, he may have his human rights flaws. But when you deliver, the people will have confidence in democracy. So, look, patience is running out. And with this digital era, young people communicating amongst themselves, these Gen Zs, seeing what is happening elsewhere, they are no longer going to take the excuses, the papering over cracks. They want solutions. Their patience is running out. And the earlier as leaders, we all sit up. We've tolerated mediocrity for too long. It just took 30 years for other societies to move from third world to first world. We should not continue marking time.
All right. Bobo, let's take a break.
Yeah, sure.
And then we'll come back and hear you. We'll be back shortly. Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana Live on Metro TV. Still with me on the show, I have the Honorable Andre Japa Mesa and the Honorable Samuel Kujetu Ablakwa. Ayesoko, that goes over down be big, but Betway's cash out be bigger. Betway is giving you more control over every thrilling bet you place. Enjoy the biggest and most reliable cash out in Ghana on Betway without any hassle. Sign up today at betway.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. It's not for persons under 18 and is regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Betway, get way more. And Blue Jeans Energy Drink has been on the Ghanaian market for over 20 years. We already know what it does for the body. It contains vitamins and nutrients like vitamin B2, B3, B6, B12, as well as taurine and guarana, which are known to boost your strength and energy, as well as promote high performance and endurance. Blue Jeans Energy Drink has been tested and tried. It's indeed the best. Blue Jeans Energy Drink is for bold and active men and women. So go on, grab a cold can and power your day. It's in shops nationwide, and you can reach Budget Cash and Carry Limited on 0208 128 190 or 055 001 0000. Bobo,
Andy,
what's said down?
It's interesting that my good friend has made all these points that he makes this morning, extending appreciation to the people who supported his strike action or his demonstration. Subsequently, the decision by the investor, Rock City Limited, not to proceed with the transaction, and the SNIT board subsequently terminating the entire process. I was here with him 2 weeks ago. Obviously, I hold a different view because I have lived through an evaluation of SNIT's investment and decisions that have been taken in the past to improve the performance of their portfolio. Started off with disposing of the real estate assets that SNIT had invested in, what we know to be the SNIT flats, Sakumono, Adenta, and across the regional capitals. They were all built and owned by SNIT at some point. Subsequently, did making sufficient enough return. SNIT decided to dispose of all those assets. I lived through SNIT's decision to offload some of its interest in banks, including Universal Merchant Bank, at the time TTB, and the intention was to include First Atlantic Merchant Bank, to be absorbed by EcoBank by way of measure, for good reason, because the assets were not generating sufficient enough return for the fund. In fact, they were profitable. But per the assessment that the SNIT board had made to sustain the fund, to ensure that they are able to pay pensioners as and when due, they needed to rationalize their investment, and so they decided to offload part of their stake in those banks to bring in more competent management in EcoBank to ensure that the return that they got from those investments appreciated, and the results are there for all to see. Same way, I'm told, in that if I would hold on to, at the very least, all of it. And what SNIT has sought to do was to dispose of part interest in these, if you like, non-performing assets, so that they can get private sector injection in there to increase the value, so that they can get a decent return of the investment that they made. I'm told that as we speak, apart from Labadi, Labadi Beach, all the rest of them, even their salaries, SNIT has to pay those salaries on behalf of those hotels. And so it will be useful for the labor unions, and including all of us whose money is being managed by SNIT, post the termination of this transaction, to then make a decision whether we think that those are pension funds ought to be invested in assets that are not generating sufficient enough return that tomorrow, when we go on pension, we'll have access to. Okay? Hence the reason that people suspected is by the Brian Achampon involvement. That is why you had taken up this battle and had fought vigorously against. Because consistent with your own posture, you describe it as state capture. I don't know whether that in itself is an appropriate description of what it is that state capture ordinarily is, because I don't see any group of people who are looking to influence public policy for their benefit, hence your description of state capture. But by and large, I support your bill. I don't have any difficulty at all. I have made it my own personal commitment not to participate in the sale of any state property. But I think it's not far-reaching enough, because limiting it to only bungalows and lands, I think is not enough. Every public transaction, including mining, everything should be backed.
Everything that is
everything that government has an interest in, including natural resources, oil and gas, mining.
Okay.
No public, yeah, of course. Yeah. Because then we know that it is not only lands and interest or state assets as you describe it, but the very day that you become a public officer, you, your family, I say you say immediate family. Immediate family means your wife and children, and you say siblings.
Siblings.
So you can use your cousins.
No, it's all there.
Which one? Siblings and which one? No, I want to see if you can help us.
Yes,
with the scope.
Yeah.
Because your uncle, your uncle's children, everybody connected to you some way, somehow, should never participate in any transaction bordering the state. Why should they not? Why not?
So we'll invite you to the stakeholder.
Oh, Chief, why not?
You.
So because the suggestion is that if you're a public officer,
yes,
you cannot participate in any public transaction.
Yes.
So you can't use your uncle's son to
yeah, you can do it indirectly.
For you.
Yeah. It is possible.
It is possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that to close every
you know there's a global definition for politically exposed persons. No, I'm assisting you.
I'm saying that let's redefine even the scope.
Fair.
Anybody related to you.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to draw attention to the absurdity of even this proposition.
Why?
Why not?
Really?
I want to hear that.
Because you see, so then let's stretch it to its most elastic limits and bar anybody that has a semblance of connection to you, the public officer, from participating.
Well, some have even said we shouldn't sell state assets at all.
Will you allow me to speak? Because we'll get to the point where you realize that no Ghanaian, because we are all interrelated some way, somehow.
Oh, this is bizarre.
Precisely the point that I want to draw our attention to. Okay? So the rules are very clear. Conflict of interest rules are well defined. They are known. So to make such proposition and then create a certain populist narrative will lead us into such bills. But is that the intent? That Ghanaians cannot participate in transactions with their country or their government? We make nonsense of the conflict of interest rules completely. that disclosures are important, and that participation in the decision making is important, and that if you comply with those two, it's irrelevant.
Is it not because there are people who believe that's not far-reaching? That is not adequate.
How so?
It's not enough.
How so? How so?
So it means that in essence you don't agree with it. You don't support it.
Precisely. But no, I don't have a problem. Let him put it across and let's debate it.
So I'm saying on the basis of your submission.
But who says that? Yeah, of course, on the basis of my submission. Because look, if there are any gaps in existing rules, let's improve it. I don't have any difficulty at all. But to suggest that public office holders, their immediate family, what word do you use? I haven't seen your bill. And their siblings. Let's go ahead and debate it. I don't have any issues at all. But I'm saying that if that's a kind of law that we want, then let's stretch it. After all, today we have LGBTQ plus. Let's extend it all the way to the very end. It's unbelievable. You see what populism can do to us.
So
clearly, Sammy, please allow.
So clearly he intends to sabotage.
Sammy, please allow him.
Clearly.
Sabotage.
Clearly.
Who am I? I'm only one voice.
Clearly, this is sabotage analysis.
I'm only one voice. You see something? Some of us, we are a little older than you. You understand? So sometimes take our advice. Now this holier than thou posture that you adopt.
Really?
Yes. Without any fear of contradiction. Because when you were in government, nobody heard you speak. In fact, you tell yourself, we are told, as a debt collector for a company, I saw for top, calling attorney generals to make payments on behalf of companies. We are told. At the time, your public spiritedness was nowhere to be found.
Really?
Where was it?
Did you see me participate in any any purchase of state assets?
Oh,
that really should be the
have you seen me participate in any purchase of state assets? Your voice, your public spiritedness was nowhere to be found.
You're wrong.
Where was it? The only case that you went to court was the Obechebilamte one.
Yes.
Which was when you were in opposition. And
it continued whilst I was in government.
And then what happened?
The final judgment at the Supreme Court was in 2012.
After that, sale of state.
I was in government.
Oh, please. Sale of state assets did not take place between 2009 and 2016 when you left.
I participated in any of that.
I'm not saying you. Your voice. You never found the voice.
I was at the Supreme Court.
To speak against any transaction, including sale of state lands when you were in government. That's the point that I'm making.
I'm not aware that when we were in government, state lands were sold to any politically exposed person. If you can provide one example, that's the issue we are discussing.
So the question is about politically exposed.
I don't know of any colleague minister in cabinet or in my ministry, and I didn't speak out. I mean, let's
yesterday
be fair.
I was following you and Nana Kumia.
Yes, we were on Joy.
Yeah. And prior to that, Abu Jinapo had spoken. And he had said that in the fullness of time, he was going to make public all the documents related to state lands that have been disposed of.
You know, we've been asking for 2 years in Parliament.
I'm not aware whether you've been asking for,
we filed
for
questions.
2 years, but consistent with your documentation, you didn't bring that Hansard here for us to see the question that you have.
In fact, we even showed...
it was reported widely.
I don't have any...
I'm just saying that we even showed the day the Honourable Minister came to respond in Parliament, and he said that it was too...
and that
they are still collecting the data.
Putting the data
So let them bring it out,
and
you will see that indeed and in fact, as has been said, politically exposed persons have purchased state lands in this country from 1992, including the period when we were in government. Of course, at the time, your eyes and ears were closed, and so you never spoke about them. That's fine, or that you probably didn't hear, because really, Was it an issue even? And so it never occupied the headlines because it had never been an issue. We all were here when that policy of redeveloping some specific areas in Accra came up during President Rawlings's era. I know people who bought some of those lands, including business people, private individuals, politicians on both sides. We know of investments that SNIT has put in private hotels in this country. We know of when their parties were in power, Ridge Royale, Maha, they took a facility from SNIT, $8 million. Was it right?
Which one?
Maha.
SNIT.
Of course. Was it right then? Was it state capture?
Has it been paid?
I don't know.
You have to check it.
I don't know whether it's been paid or not, but I'm saying.
So it was a loan?
I said they took a facility. Yes.
Facility.
You see?
From SNIT.
Of course.
Facilities.
Oh, you see, Randy.
Do you know what you're talking about?
Randy.
Yes.
Randy.
I know of a partnership with GIF, but this SNIT, I'm hearing it for the first time.
No problem. I will provide you with the documents in due course.
Yeah. You should check on that. You should check on that.
But Ridge Royale, you not dispute that, right?
They were not in government from my checks. Yeah. They had left government.
They had left government.
Yeah.
By how many years?
That's what I'm
so
saying.
This is your retroactive legislation will affect
That's
them,
what
right?
I'm saying that.
This is your retroactive legislation that you are proposing.
Yes.
Will affect them. So how far are we going? 1957?
That's why we'll have the stakeholder consultations.
No, how far? You have a proposal. How far are we going?
We'll have the stakeholder consultations.
You see,
next week.
Let's help the debate.
And I think that from 1992 wouldn't be a bad idea.
Over the past week, you've put out a plethora of allegations. Mm-hmm. The minister has come to debunk. You have come back, essentially shifting part of the goalpost. So, Bulgarian embassy is costing government some 5.3 million. Is it factual? That assertion you make. That property itself essentially ceased to be state land in 1972 or 74 when the government of Ghana granted a lease to the owner of the property whose executor then went to demolish that property on the land. But listen to the narrative. Mm-hmm. You accuse government of granting a 50-year lease or so to some foundation, the Bois Foundation. Is it factual? And the minister comes to respond that no lease has been executed. You said you had the agreement that you've intercepted. Where in that agreement was it said that government was granting the Bois Foundation any lease? But you put it out there. To what end? Pure mischief? And then you say what? When Mr. Mahama becomes president again, he would do what? And this bill has not been assented to. At the time that Mr. Mahama was president, you did not think that it was important for you to protect state assets from politically exposed persons' acquisition. And so you did not dream of the bill at the time. It was now that you want power that you dreamt of bills, that you want to propose for the consideration of former President Mahama in the event that he becomes president again. And you think the labor unions believe you? You think they believe you? Increasingly, you are gaining a pension for falsehood and half-truths. And it's not good. You have a decent political career, young man. Let your credibility lead you in the course that we have embarked on. And you talk of PDS. Randy, you see, it is not in doubt that I incorporated a company called TG Energy in 2014. That company engaged some partners of it, Miracle and Co., which participated in the bid to dispose of ECG during your government's era in 2014. They had been shortlisted by your government as part of the 6 that are pre-qualified. It was when the Nana Akufo-Addo government came that some other entities who had also been pre-qualified exited because of the president's insistence that the shareholding should be changed from, I believe, 80-20 in favor of foreign to 51-49 in favor of Ghanaian. And so that consortium made up of TG Energy, Miracle, and some others won that ECG concession. And because they had won, they incorporated PDS as the entity that the government of Ghana contracted with. These are matters of fact. And you say I was on the wrong side of history when I defended PDS. When that process under the MIDA compact started, you were in government. Which side of history did you speak on? Or at that time, consistent with your nature, your public spiritedness had gone into abeyance? Look, I committed no ill or wrong, Randy. And so your foot soldiers that you people sit on social media and give them hope of sorts that they in the very unlikely event that you people come to power, people like Japan Mesa will be held to account for account for what? Account for what? Nobody can do zilch to me because I did nothing. This matter has come up on 2 occasions at the appointments committee. When I was first nominated as Deputy Minister for Energy and subsequently as Minister responsible for Tourism. I did no wrong. So let your your people that you always give fake hope to and ultimately deny them and leave them hanging believe in talk like that. What side of history are you on? Look, I will urge organized labor and particularly SNIT contributors that yes, the transaction relative to the sale as was proposed is no longer in place. But they did, and in fact, we ought to exact proper investment decision by SNIT on our behalf for the monies that we are contributing. We all contribute. I'm a contributor. But I cannot for the life of me support my pension fund being invested in an entity that is generating 1.5% return for me. I will never support it. So please, and you go and talk of this Afrobarometer thing. You talk about every institution, but the political parties or opposition parties of which you are a member. You talk of everybody. You talk of the presidency. You talk of Shraj. You talk of judiciary. You talk of police, but never talk of the opposition parties. What was your own ranking? Please let them show it. It's not the best. I agree that these key democratic institutions are perceived in the manner that they are perceived by the broad majority of Ghanaians, especially the youth. But let's not single out any institution necessarily. Because the presidency that you criticize, it's not as if to say when Mr. Mahama was president, there was no occasion that he chartered a flight, private. He did. And it was necessary. It is the case that Nana Akufo-Addo has chartered a flight on several occasions, yes. But they were necessary. Maybe Mr. Mahama had only a need for it once. And Mr. Akufo-Addo has had a need for it more than on one occasion. The other day, you asked the question of me in Parliament on the National Cathedral. You say it's a private venture. So why do you ask a question on it?
I said it's a national.
You said it's a crime.
Your president said that. That's what your president told us. That's what your president. That's how your president introduced the national.
And, okay, so let's just say that that's what the president said. And how have you been describing it? Private dream or pledge to God. So why did you ask me a question?
Yeah, why shouldn't I? When it's been put under your section.
So we agree that it is an agency under the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture.
Yeah, belatedly, it's now.
But
it's
it is.
now.
So that's why you asked the question. And thankfully, we both agreed that, as opposed to your description of the world's most expensive hole, it is a foundation that has been built.
You're cracking me up this morning. A $58 million foundation.
Oh, but of course, every structure commences with a foundation.
I've been sent some Bible verses.
Randy, he agreed with me on the floor when I came to answer his question.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
How did I do that?
By referencing my description in your follow-up question as foundation,
as you call it. Yes.
As
you call it.
You didn't accept it, but you didn't challenge me that why am I saying,
why
am I saying it's a foundation?
You know our rules. Supplementary
because a lot of work has been done there.
You call it.
As a matter of fact, yes, the building has not come up out of the ground.
So you are proud of what has happened there? You are proud?
See,
is that what you are telling us?
Like I urged you, and I will not disclose our conversation in public. I think we need to support government funding that project. Because I've seen the numbers. It can pay for itself. Per the numbers that I've seen in 10 years, if you discount it by even 50%, it's a worthwhile investment. We live in a country. Yeah. I'm coming to something.
People stop going to Israel and
where all our state events, Randy, yes. All our state events are held on a car park. We've glorified it with a beautiful name, forecourt of the State House. It's a car park. All our important state events are held on a car park. And you think as a country, we should hold an important state event on a car park? This National Cathedral facility is a multi-functional hall. Can be used for several other activities. There's a museum component. The Du Bois Foundation, New York, no lease has been granted to them. They're looking to develop the Du Bois Museum, manage it over a period under an SPV, which is even a company limited by guarantee. I have all the documents here. In fact, 2 days ago, I've signed a letter giving them right of entry. Because all the condition precedents have been met as per the agreement.
So what are they going to do?
So the scope of the works that they're going to do is actually defined in the agreement. Museum complex.
They're going to build a museum complex.
No, so they're going to refurbish the bungalow. Because that's what holds the historical significance. This is where W.E.B. Du Bois lived. Okay, worked and died with his wife, Shirley Graham Du Bois. Preservation of the books, papers of Du Bois, conservation of the academic regalia, fully created museum is what they're going to put up there. That will exhibit the lifetimes and works, a library, reading rooms that will house books and other materials by and about Du Bois, a mausoleum memorial pavilion with sitting rooms that will house the mortal remains of Du Bois and his wife, a large amphitheater for lectures, conferences, show and cultural performances, a wall of heroes to remember people of color who were unjustly killed, guest house. There's a Marcus Garvey guest house there. So they're going to improve it. Okay, visiting scholars, visitors, and special guests of the museum. Office complex that will consist of 424 square meters of office space to contain small office units, one large open office, meeting rooms, and of course, related ancillary things that they need to run the thing. Okay, it's been sitting there. We're not putting any money in it. So the Du Bois Memorial Foundation, New York, submits a proposal to the government of Ghana. They signed an MOU in as far back as 2020, and subsequently arrived at this agreement that will give them management. Of course, they're going to design and build and manage the facility for 30 years under a vehicle.
For 30 years?
Yeah, for 30 years. I think it's renewable for at the option of the parties for another 20.
So that's where
okay,
the 50
during the
comes
period, even though it's a non-profit, government is going to take 30% of the revenue that they generate so that they can use it for other investment. So I don't see anything necessarily wrong with this transaction. That my friend went out there as usual. If he had checked, and the assertion that some chief director has written a letter, yes, he did. He sent me a copy, and I asked him questions. That was the basis of this letter that you've written to these people, asking them to post a bond of 13 million. Okay, he said to me that he was only informing them that this obligation exists. It's not a condition precedent. This agreement was signed in 2023. Okay, there's an indication for it was signed on 22nd September 2023. There's a clear provision in the agreement in 7.2.13 that on or about 2 years after the commencement date, which is September 2023, and before construction and excavation begins, Museum Foundation Ghana must show proof of a performance bond and an amount of not less than 13 million in the bank account of Museum Foundation Ghana towards the construction of the museum complex. During that 2-year period, MFGH will manage and operate the center and commence the preservation and repair of the bungalow, books, fabrics, and documents located at the site. So really, the 2-year performance bond is not due, and they have to provide it before they can actually go ahead to do actual demolition of any structure that needs to be demolished and any commencement of work. That
so your chief director was wrong.
Well, he was being premature ejaculation. to borrow the words of people.
Anyway, it's a Friday.
so that can be permissible, right? So, Sammy, please. I mean, to some extent.
Can I respond now?
I like your public spiritedness to some extent. Save that it's increasingly selective. It seems to many people who are observing that it's pure politics that you're doing. And that even when the facts are against assertions that you make, you are not humble enough to come and admit that you erred. And it will be good that when those matters are brought to your attention, you do the needful, the honorable thing, and let's proceed.
All right.
Yeah, Doc, I hope
we can do it in because we don't have much time.
Yeah, but I'll need time to respond to he's thrown a lot out there. And let me begin by saying that we don't have to scream at each other to make a point. We don't have to talk at the people.
Tangentials.
We can still make our point in a very calm and decorous manner and respectful manner.
But it's how
you know. No, but he's screaming at me, pointing your left finger. I had to use notice. I had to be shifty and all of that. I don't know if he wants to beat me up or what. You know, let's calm down.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize.
Whilst you were speaking, I have the permission of this viewer to read her messages. She says, Honorable Ejapa, please, we are already paid. Don't play ignorant. I had 85,000 at EcoBank in bonds. The value was slashed to 65,000 cedis. And when I needed my money, I was told I could get a devalued amount of 45,000 cedis and I'll wait till the market bounces back. This is my entire savings I came home with after your MPP government collapsed my bank UniCredit.
That's where she was working.
Yes, that's where she was working. My small business I had has collapsed because I feed on the sales of the business on a daily basis and no capital investment. Please, Honorable, let my case be known on Good Morning Ghana. I'm willing to come forward and prove all this in person. If you give me the opportunity.
That she made losses?
Yes. Oh, yeah, and she has sent her EcoBank bank statement.
In net present value terms,
you know,
a loss of 87 billion occurred, so that's fine.
Yes, so this is a viewer, you know. So people are pained And this should not be the approach. Fortunately, he says that my activism went dead when my party won, I came to power. I have here the Supreme Court judgment, Samokujeto Ablakwa Edward Omanibwan versus Attorney General Jekote Eltanka Obeche-Bilamte. I pursued this matter for 4 years. The final judgment was delivered 22nd May 2012. I was in government. I was Deputy Minister for Information. I didn't abandon my activism.
I get the point I was making was that when you were in power,
I didn't abandon my
you
activism.
didn't find the need to chase those who were making acquisitions when you were in power.
I don't know of any. Why would they come and tell me that I've heard about your activism? But
really they were not
I've heard about the activism at your Supreme Court.
Because they were not a big deal, really. Because it was usual for state assets
so please,
to be disposed of.
I didn't abandon
require public attention.
The Honorable Mani Buama and I didn't abandon our activism for 4 years. We were still going to the court, Supreme Court judgment. Then he talks about the Accra redevelopment policy.
Yes.
Fortunately, I have here the obiter when Justice Adenyira was delivering her judgment. This is what she says in this judgment. I wish to state, by way of obiter, that the Accra redevelopment scheme of residential properties policy, as implemented by both the Rawlings and Kufuor administrations, has not been wholly satisfactory and has raised a lot of negative comments and issues of morality from the populace. The implementation of this scheme has dislodged a lot of government and public officials from their homes to give way to luxury apartments, which only a few Ghanaians can afford to rent or buy. I will stress that since these public lands were initially used to provide housing for government and other public officials, space should be made available to decently house these officials, most of whom hold sensitive positions and thus need adequate privacy and security. Unquote. Justice Adenyira, in 2012, condemning this Accra redevelopment policy and saying it has dislodged many public officials. Exactly what I'm saying, and I've been saying. Doc, are you aware? I have a letter here. It's still going on. 11th July 2024. Ministry of Works and Housing, notice of a meeting. We present to you compliments of the Ministry of Works and Housing. The Chief Director respectfully invites all tenants occupying the Roman Ridge flats for an emergency meeting. The meeting is scheduled as follows. Tuesday, 15 July 2024. Venue, Ministry of Works and Housing Conference Room. Time, 2 p.m. Signed, Reverend Stephen Yao Osei, Chief Director for the Minister. To all tenants, Roman Ridge flats. They went for the meeting. As usual, I was a fly on the wall. All of them have been informed, get ready. Accra redevelopment policy has caught up with you. You have to move out. This is what the respected jurist Adenyira was talking about. And this is what we are all talking about. Look, I have been asking in recent time, when was the last time you heard that our generation of leaders, we have secured land banks, acquired land banks for future development?
My ministry is...
Population will grow. We'll need more workers, more doctors to be close. I
provided a response to a question to that effect last Friday. We are quite land banks.
So if I can...
For tourism infrastructure development.
You are. Yes. I will commend you. I hope that when you finish, you let us
Last week Friday,
know. So as for us, Parliament, we are the generation of leaders who sell. We don't think about the future. And in the name of Accra redevelopment policy, public officials, sensitive positions, judges, chief directors are being dislodged. That is what the Supreme Court is saying. And it's going on, this letter, only this week. And we are raising issues of national concern. It's not everything that we should attack each other about. When judges have said that, look, this so-called Accra development, the intentions were clearly noble. You see a small bungalow on a huge acre. Nkrumah expected that we will build more bungalows as the population grows. We were less than 5 million then. We are now 33 million. And all we do is, hey, you people move out. Private developer, They come and build expensive apartments. The average civil servant cannot afford it. That is what Justice Adenyina said. And instead of us learning from this, it's worsening. When you talk about it, they say you are a populist. They say you are holier than thou. So Justice Adenyina holier than thou in her judgment. I mean, please, let's think about the countries more. Now let me quickly come to Bulgarian embassy. You see, I filed an RTI request.
So I'm try and do it in 5 minutes.
Yes, I'll quickly. I filed an RTI request over a year ago for the minister. After my expose on the Bulgaria, I exposed the matter. On this show, we discussed it.
Yes.
The minister, in his response, very selective, left out the issue of the Bulgarian embassy. I've talked about Bulgarian embassy demolition for years. He left it out. Left out the Blay family taking over the Labadi Beach Hotel beachfront. Left that out. Left out the Nigerian High Commission demolition. And aren't we worried? You are a respected lawyer. When it comes to your law, it's just the politics when you are attached to it that we have problems. But in Parliament, we respect your law. You know the Vienna Convention. You know the implications. I mean, when was the last time in our history you heard that, look, the state capture has gone on now, even the inviolability of diplomatic enclaves, the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, it's an act of war. When the Nigerian High Commission was demolished, their foreign minister issued a strongly worded statement. Ghanaians in Nigeria were panicking. Our president had to call his counterpart and apologize. Then we did Bulgaria 2 years after.
But the
and you think that, and you think that,
whether the Nigerian embassy,
and you think that this is an
act of state.
Let me. Let me.
But the Bulgarian embassy, it's been established as a matter of fact that it was a private individual.
Can you just write down?
So why do you keep
your
making
point?
It look as if it was?
There is an obligation. There is an obligation for host nations to protect these enclaves. And if you don't listen to us, you people don't stop this your insatiable greed, and now even embassies are not safe. One day, bombs will just drop on us. You are lucky that, Nigeria, they say, we are good friends. Bulgaria, they said, we're close to Nkrumah. So we are good friends. So we will not declare war. But these things must stop. These things must stop. And
so when you greed relative to Bulgarian embassy, where does it arise from?
No, because look, please, can I?
Where does it arise from?
Please, let me.
Because it's not supported by the facts.
Goodness. Look.
How do you link that to government?
How? So, yes, if you would just give
and try and summarize it because of time.
Unfortunately for you guys, it's been over a year of my RTI requests and demanding that they publish the Bulgarian Embassy sole inquiries report. They refused.
Why?
The Minister of Lands has refused, treated my RTI request with contempt. He says he only put out his ministry summary. That's all he did. Unfortunately for him, my interception powers, I have the report now. Full 149 pages. I have it. When you read this report, and you see the complicity of government officials, the Lands Commission.
Yes.
Page 123 of this report. Mr. Jojo Hagan, without the necessary notices to the occupiers, forcibly evicted them and caused the demolition of the property without following due process. After the demolition, Mr. Jojo Hagan went ahead and assigned the land for the unexpired residue of the Latin lease to Dr. Yao Eduampoma on 11 December 2018. You know Dr. Yao Eduampoma?
Who is he?
President Akufo-Addo's appointee at the NDPC.
Okay.
Dr. Yao Eduampoma went into possession and prepared the land for development. It was in the course of the development that his workers were asked to stop work and subsequently arrested by the Property Fraud Unit. Sole Inquirer Justice Anto Oforiata continues. Page 124. We also found that the inviolability of the Bulgarian embassy has been confirmed by the Court of Appeal. Some due process were not followed by the Lands Commission. What has the Lands Minister done to the people at the Lands Commission? Some due process were not followed by the Lands Commission in the cancellation of the certificate of the Bulgarian embassy. In such cases of cancellation, that should come from the court. 6.22. The fragmented recording system of the Lands Commission was partly to be blamed for the confusion leading to the cancellation of the certificate and demolition of the property. What has happened to officials at the Lands Commission? Damning report. Now, after this, the sole inquirer says that Jojo Hagan must be held liable. He should pay the compensation because the Nigerian one, we had to pay Ghanaian taxpayers. It will not continue. So get the demolishers to pay. I filed a question asking the Attorney General, what has happened? Will you believe that? They say that they can't find Jojo Hagan.
Okay.
He's on the run.
Okay.
Sole Inquirer subpoenaed Dr. Yedu Apuma from NDPC and said, you paid Jojo Hagan. Where is he? He said, oh, since I paid him, I can't find him. Now, I have intercepted latest documents from the Land Valuation Division of the Lands Commission. I have them here. They've done the valuation. It's going to cost us
Who asked them to do the valuation?
The Minister for Lands.
Why?
The valuation to know how much compensation should be paid the Bulgarians.
To be paid by who? Yeah, to be paid by who? If they say who,
yes. So
Hagan responsible. Yes. What is the business of the? Good question. So that is why. Now, in their statement, they are creating the impression that I have said that government will pay. I said that. The recommendation is that Jojo Hagan should be made to pay. However, the Bulgarians recently have said that, look, it's been more than 2 years. You people say you can't find Jojo Hagan. You are doing nothing to find him. They haven't even posted even wanted list anywhere. They are not working with Interpol. So the Bulgarians are saying our patience is running out. And like it happened in the case of the Nigerian demolition, it's just a matter of time. They will use our taxes to pay.
But you see, Randy.
So land valuation, Dr. Theodora, please, Dr. Theodora
What's the meaning of all this?
In his response to the lands minister, says that the valuation they have done, the compensation that is due to the Bulgarians, 5,383,000 Ghana cedis for the property. They are not talking about that.
What has that
but why did the minister request for it?
So that's the minister, you know, because there was an embassy involved. That's why the ministry got itself involved. Because otherwise, it's a pure private transaction. The Bulgarian embassy did not take or obtain its lease from the government of Ghana or the Lands Commission. They bought it from the owner of the land, Leighton or something, who was deceased. It was this Leighton's executor, who was the Hagan guy, who went to, after the man's death, went to demolish this building that the Bulgarians were building.
On the basis of
because he had sold.
On the basis of a collusion between him and the Lands Commission.
Absolutely, yes.
So the Lands Commission is a state agency.
I don't have any difficulty. But I'm saying that pure private transaction. But there was a diplomatic mission involved. So the government had to take an interest.
Yeah, but so the Lands Commission created the problem.
I don't have a problem. I don't no issues. I'm saying that it wasn't as if the government of Ghana had granted a lease to Bulgarian embassy, which was subsequently as
given
to a private narrative.
Nobody has said that. Nobody has said that.
So the only role that the minister was playing was to mediate, so that the mission that was involved.
If your colleagues in government had not set an eye on that land belonging to the Bulgarian embassy, who stood to benefit from this demolition?
But I'm coming though.
Who stood to benefit from the demolition?
Randy, you see that's why
when we talk about state capture, that's what we are talking about. Politically exposed persons misconducting themselves.
You know my story.
That is what we are talking about.
Coming.
Can I please? You've had over 30 minutes.
Now we have to go.
Please. No, very quickly on Du Bois. Very quickly.
These things happen to me.
Please, Jabba. You are hijacking all the time. Please, it's my turn. It's my turn to speak. Look, everything we put out, we have the documents, we have the facts.
Now, this is no facts.
Now, Bois Centre. I am the one who broke the story when I intercepted the agreement. Abu Jinapo is saying all what I'm saying is false. It's as if there's no agreement whatsoever.
That's not what he said. He says no lease has been
who talk about lease? Did I talk about the lease?
But
Go back to my write-up.
You pull it.
Go back to my write-up.
You pull it.
Go back to it. I said state capture, Bois Centre is going to the control. This is the agreement. It says that agreement between government of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, and the W.E.B. Du Bois Museum Foundation, Ghana, for the finance, management, and transfer of the W.E.B. Du Bois Centre. So I said the transfer of the center. So that is what I said. And I said that, look, there are so many provisions in this agreement which are unconscionable.
Such as?
For example, 7213, page 18. On or about 2 years after the commencement date and before the construction and excavation begins, the Museum Foundation Ghana must show proof of a performance bond and an amount of not less than $30 million in the bank toward the construction of Museum Complex. During the 2-year period, MFGH will manage and operate the center and commence preservation and repair of the bungalow, books, fabrics, documents looted at the site.
It says located, not looted.
Sorry, located at the site. Located at the site.
See words that he uses.
It comes. Yeah. So why are you giving it to these people 2 years before they show proof of money in their account? 2 years. Who signed this agreement? 2 years. Is it not a work and pay, another work and pay arrangement? 2 good years. Very unconscionable. Then you come to page 19. This Museum Foundation, if you look at 8.3, they will have majority on the board, 6. The whole government of Ghana have only 3. They will appoint the board chair. Then they give us only 2 management positions. The government of Ghana, only 2. I mean, who signed this? Then, as usual, David Ajayi is in there. On his website, he says he's already done his redesign. He's been paid $2.5 million.
Of whose money?
They are raising their
You met the gentleman involved?
I don't.
You met him?
Yes, we've had as part of my oversight.
So, of whose money?
As part of my oversight.
Of whose money?
I meet many people.
2.5 million of whose money?
They raise the money.
Of whose money? Who?
The foundation.
Was it government of Ghana?
Have I said that yet?
But what have you said?
Have I said that yet?
You have, because the
mischief. I said they have already.
The mischief
they have already paid
is in what you don't
please,
say.
Please, oh please.
In
please,
that,
please.
The point you are making is suggesting that David Ajayi has been paid 2.5 million by who you won't
please.
You won't add it.
So here we are.
It's unbelievable.
Here we are. The Du Bois Centre handed over. And he's telling us today that he has signed a letter
Randy,
for them.
Randy.
2 years to raise the fund.
Randy.
And look at how skewed it is.
Okay.
And they have majority on the board.
Yeah. Randy.
Yes. I mean, who negotiated this?
You see, Sammy, take
how
your time.
How can this be the national? Keep your advice.
Minister.
Keep
It
your
will
advice.
help you.
Keep your advice. I don't need your advice.
It's a company limited by guarantee. It's not for profit. It's a not for profit.
There is a revenue sharing agreement that they make reference to.
No,
in this agreement.
So the revenue share is what government insisted on, and what they're doing is to renovate the. I've read the scope of the works. They're going to build the existing structure. All the books in the facility, then they showed you pictures. They're all falling apart. These guys, there's already a Du Bois Foundation in New York. In place.
They registered it. They are the same people. They registered in 2019. Don't speak as though there is some foundation that has existed for a long time.
And they registered in 2019 for what purpose?
Yeah, for this, because of the
to
talks
promote the ideals.
They held with
and
you.
There's no lease that is transferring or creating any interest in Du Bois Foundation to anybody. So essentially, it's a management contract.
Are you transferring the Du Bois Centre or not?
But if it's a management contract, they won't have control to manage it.
We need to go. I need to apologize to.
It's unfortunate that we didn't have time. This minister's statement, the blatant lies. It's just unfortunate.
All right.
Parks and gardens.
We need to go. We'll continue next week.
We have to continue.
We'll continue next week.
I'll bring all the documents.
Mr. Okrekudaso, with the greatest respect, and Mrs. Okrekudaso, please. Apologize.
Son of man.
For God and country. I can no longer call him Desi the Star.
For your beloved NDC and yourself.
So, Mr. President, please. And Mr. President, your colleagues in the newsroom say you should limit the way you flash your left fingers in the newsroom. So you should.
Oh, he just got married?
He just got married.
Oh, okay.
So I told the guys in the newsroom that they should give him 3 months.
Where you are.
They should give him 3 months. He will start saying that, oh, he feels uncomfortable.
And he want to take it off.
Anyway, let me say a big happy birthday to Mrs. Beatrice Amma. You're 67 today, so happy birthday to you, Mrs. Beatrice Amma, from your children and grandchildren. And Reverend Azigiza Victor Kwakwado, today is your birthday, so happy birthday, Reverend Azigiza. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining me. Up next, Metro Sports.